Chapter 55-25. Without further ado, Lin Yi recited the rest of the mental cultivation method word by word. With the strength of these people, they could memorize it completely after hearing it once. Even if there were any omissions, the three of them could compare with each other, so there was no need to worry about them making any mistakes. After he finished reciting, Lin Yi said calmly, "This is the complete mental cultivation method that I know. Whether it's real or not, you can verify it yourself. I won't repeat myself if you remember it or not." "Thank you, Grand Master." Shangguan Feixing was so excited that his eyes were brimming with tears. He almost knelt down in front of Lin Yi. With the complete version of the mental cultivation method, the rise of the Shangguan clan was just around the corner. Not to mention the 2 golden cores of nascent soul that Lin Yi had previously. He could also upgrade Shangguan Qingyin to the great perfection of the nascent soul realm. With 2 nascent soul realm cultivators at the great perfection of the Shangguan clan, even the Qinkuan sect would not dare to provoke them. Speaking of which, the Qinkuan sect had lost 3 nascent soul realm cultivators. Now that their strength had been greatly reduced, when Shangguan Qingyin reached the great perfection of the nascent soul realm, the status of both parties would be completely reversed. Lin Yi waved his hand at Exionijia, indicating that he could go back. As for the gratitude of the 3 guys from the Shangguan clan, Lin Yi just waved his hand to dismiss it. After leaving the Shangguan clan's gate, Exionijia, who had been forcing himself to stay calm, began to tremble with excitement. If he had done so just now, he would have embarrassed Lin Yi. But it didn't matter now. For Jadian's sect to have such a glorious moment, Exionijia had never thought of it before. Lin Yi chuckled and patted on Exionijia's shoulder. "Look at you. Such a small matter, and you're already so excited. When you become the leader of the Jadian sect, the leader of the 4 major sects, you'll be so excited." "Grand Master, you're right. I've never seen the world, but I'm really excited. Our Qingyin sect has never been so glorious before." Exionijia touched his head awkwardly. He was already an old man, but he was still acting like a child. All right. No matter what, you're a sect leader. We're about to return to the station, so pay attention to your image." Lin Yi shook his head and reminded him with a faint smile. Then he didn't say anything more. Exionijia agreed and quickly took a few deep breaths to calm himself down. After a few steps, he had recovered a lot. "All right, Grand Master, since the Shangguan clan is now on our side, our Blue Cloud sect is already extremely powerful. Why don't we go look for the Xuanji sect as well?" After Exionijia calmed down, he suddenly thought of Xuanji sect, one of the 3 major sects in the North Island. So he immediately suggested to Lin Yi with hope. What a great guy! Lin Yi secretly laughed in his heart. Exionijia attached great importance to the words come from the same lineage. That's why he secretly suggested to help the Shangguan clan, and now he wanted to help the Xuanji sect. However, Exionijia had a sense of propriety. It was all within the scope that Lin Yi could allow. Therefore, not only did Lin Yi not dislike it, but he also felt that Exionijia was indeed a trustworthy person. "If you think it's a good idea, just do it. I have no opinion." Lin Yi didn't care much about the Xuanji sect. After all, it was just a sect that didn't even enter the top 10. Moreover, Lin Yi didn't have much of a relationship with the Xuanji pavilion on the Heaven Stage Island. Since Exionijia mentioned it, he would help him if he could. It wouldn't take much effort anyway. Exionijia was overjoyed. He clenched his fist hard and said, "Thank you so much, Grand Master. I'll go to the Xuanji sect and have a talk with them later. Although they have already found the 5 Elements sect as their backing, it won't stop the Xuanji sect from returning to the top 3 sects of the Northern Island. In fact, there would definitely be an impact." However, after Exionijia saw how Lin Yi dealt with the Qinkuan sect, he naturally had a sense of pride and arrogance. He felt that even if the 5 Elements sect had an opinion, it would be insignificant to the Blue Cloud sect. Moreover, Exionejia believed that Lin Yi would never care about the 5 elements sex opinion. All right, do as you see fit. Just let me know when you're done, Lin Yi said indifferently. He then walked into the courtyard of the Blue Cloud Sect Station. In the open space in the courtyard, there was a disciple of the Blue Cloud Sect practicing his martial arts. He controlled the power of the martial arts within a radius of half a foot around his body, without any leakage at all. It could be seen that he was quite talented in this aspect. Exionejia walked in behind Lin Yi. Seeing the situation in the courtyard, he immediately showed a satisfied smile. He nodded slightly and said, "Half a step to the right. Hold the strength and hit with an inch to recover the chi." "Good. That's it." The disciple in the courtyard performed the martial arts perfectly according to Exionejia's instructions. After finishing, he immediately saluted respectfully and said, "Disciple Jin Weifeng pays respect to Grand Master and Master." Lin Yi nodded with a smile and said, "Not bad. He's a good seedling. Ijia, this disciple of yours is not bad. Be careful, he'll surpass you soon." Exionejia laughed and said, "It's rare that Grand Master appreciates this kid. If he really can surpass me, it'll be a wonderful thing. However, I have Grand Master's protection. It'll be a little difficult for this kid to surpass me." Lin Yi couldn't help but smile. This Exionejia really liked telling the truth. However, what he meant was that he wanted Lin Yi to help improve his disciple Jin Weifeng's strength. To be honest, Lin Yi was quite optimistic about Jin Weifeng. As Exionejia's direct disciple, Jin Weifeng was lacking in cultivation resources in the past. After all, before he met Lin Yi, Exionejia was only in the early stage of Gold Core, which ranked the lowest in Jadian sect. It was not enough for him to take care of Jin Weifeng. However, Jin Weifeng was indeed a talented guy. He did not participate in the training in the secular world in order to break through to Foundation perfected. After Lin Yi completed the Jadian sect skills, he succeeded in breaking through to Gold Core. Without Lin Yi's help, Exionejia would have been overtaken or even surpassed by his own disciple. Unfortunately, there was no more Gold Core. Otherwise, he could have trained Jin Weifeng well. Lin Yi sighed in his heart. However, he immediately felt something was wrong. "Jin Weifeng, you're already at the peak of late-stage Gold Core." Lin Yi didn't notice it just now. Now, he suddenly realized that Exionejia's direct disciple had already reached the peak of late-stage Gold Core. In an instant, Lin Yi's eyes were as cold as ice, because the first thing he thought of was that Jin Weifeng had defected to the center. In the entire ancient underworld, other than Lin Yi, only the center had the ability to greatly improve a person's strength in a short period of time. Lin Yi knew very well that he definitely did not help Jin Weifeng, so the only possibility was the center. The Fishman's new book, Schoolbell CEO Relies on Me, is being serialized. I recommend everyone to read it. Please add the Fishman's official QQ account Fishman2, WeChat official year in 22. All kinds of latest news and updates. Fishman's latest news to be continued. Chapter 55-26. Jin Weifeng only broke through the Golden Core stage after Lin Yi came to the ancient Zhonghu and perfected the Jadian sex martial arts. How long had it been? He was already at the peak of the late stage of Golden Core, and he was showing signs of breaking through. He could reach the Golden Core full cycle at any time. Exionejia did not notice Lin Yi's suspicion. He said proudly, "Grand Master, Weifeng is definitely a hidden genius in our Jadian sect. His progress was slow because of the incomplete martial arts. Thanks to you, Grand Master." After getting the complete martial arts, Weifeng immediately soared to the sky. Lin Yi squinted his eyes and hid the coldness in them. Jin Weifeng had sought refuge with the center, but his aura was different from those who had sought refuge with the center. Perhaps there was something hidden? After all, Lin Yi had been dealing with the center since Jiang Wen and Kong Mingming. The center's improvement in strength gave off a cold aura that made people feel uncomfortable. Such a fast speed of cultivation. He is indeed a genius. Ijia, you have a good eye. Lin Yi said lightly while observing Jin Weifeng carefully. Jin Weifeng said embarrassedly, Grandmaster, you flatter me. In fact, I have a fast speed of cultivation because of my special physique. Moreover, at my current level, it's impossible to continue to break through quickly. Oh, do you have a special physique? Lin erased his eyebrows and became curious. Xian Ijia said quickly, Grandmaster, Weifeng has a wood attribute spiritual root, broken bamboo physique. With his physique, as long as he has enough spirit jades, he will be able to break through quickly without any bottlenecks. He will only stop when he reaches the barrier of a major rank. It's just like how every section of bamboo is hollow in front of the bamboo joint. If he can break through in one go, he will be able to break through the barrier of a major rank easily. Broken bamboo physique? That's amazing, Lin Yi said with some surprise. This was the first time he had heard of this kind of physique. As long as one broke through a major level, they could cultivate to the next major level without any bottlenecks. This kind of cultivation talent was really heaven-defying. In that case, Xian Ijia must have provided a large amount of spiritual jades to Jin Weifeng. That was why Jin Weifeng could improve so quickly. It was comparable to eating the gold core golden pill. As for Xian Ijia's spiritual jades, those who followed Lin Yi would not worry about a shortage of spiritual jades. Jin Weifeng smiled shyly and said, Martial Granduncle is too kind. Master has also exaggerated a little. The cultivation speed of the broken bamboo physique is quite fast, but in terms of the power of martial skills, there is no special addition. If I were to encounter an existence like the shattered ice physique, I would definitely not be a match for it. Basically, all the disciples in the Jadian sect knew about the relationship between Lung Lung and Lin Yi. Those who did not participate in the training in the common world would also hear about it from the disciples who did. After all, it was related to their legendary Grand Master. Everything would be discussed. Hence, Jin Weifeng subconsciously used Lung Lung's ice-shattering physique as an example. It's already a heaven-defying talent to be able to improve your strength quickly without relying on external forces. You're too greedy to pursue the power of your attack. Lin Yi said with a smile. He pointed at Xian Ijia and said, Your Shifu is really not bad. He wants you to level up as soon as possible. As your Shifu, I should really help you out. Xian Ijia nodded. Xian Ijia was instantly overjoyed. He was the one who knew Lin Yi's means the best. Therefore, compared to Jin Weifeng, he was even more proud. He said that just now because he wanted Lin Yi to help Jin Weifeng. If a person with the broken bamboo physique could not break through the barrier of a big level in one go, then it would be much more difficult than ordinary people to break through the barrier. The peak of the late Gold Core realm was not the bottleneck, but the great completion of the Gold Core realm. However, as long as Lin Yi agreed to help, it would not be a problem. Silly boy, hurry up and thank Martial Granduncle for his guidance. Xian Ijia reminded Jin Weifeng with a smile. Jin Weifeng seemed to have woken up from a dream. He showed an ecstatic expression and thanked respectfully. Thank you for your guidance, Martial Granduncle. You're welcome. This is also because of your hard work. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to help you even if I wanted to. Lin Yi smiled faintly. This was not nonsense. If Jin Weifeng did not advance to the peak of the late Gold Core realm by himself, Lin Yi would not be able to help him even if he wanted to without the Golden Core realm. Go back to your room first. I'll protect you until you break through to the great completion of the Gold Core realm. Lin Yi already had a plan in mind. Jin Weifeng's broken bamboo physique was quite special. Now that he was at the peak of the late Gold Core realm, as long as he had enough spiritual qi, he could advance to the great completion of the Gold Core realm. For others, this level was considered a breakthrough, but for Jin Weifeng, it was just a natural advancement. Jin Weifeng naturally had no objection. He immediately returned to his room with Lin Yi. Lin Yi asked Jin Weifeng to sit down and start cultivating. Then he took out dozens of spirit jades and surrounded Jin Weifeng's body. He forcibly extracted the spiritual power from the spirit jades and instilled it into Jin Weifeng's body. In fact, this was the same as Lin Yi directly extracting spiritual power from the space of the jade pendant for Jin Weifeng. However, according to past experience, Lin Yi's current strength was only at the great completion of the Foundation Establishment realm. It was ineffective for the Gold Core realm, so he could only use spirit jades as a medium. Moreover, this method could only be used by people like Jin Weifeng, who had a broken bamboo physique. If it was someone else, they wouldn't be able to withstand this crude, force-feeding method. To some extent, Jin Weifeng's broken bamboo physique was somewhat similar to Wang Xinyan's sponge physique, but Lin Yi could only forcibly instill spiritual power like this. If Lin Yi wanted to forcibly instill Jin Weifeng from the early nascent soul realm to the great completion of the nascent soul realm, it would be impossible for Lin Yi to complete it unless he used the space of the jade pendant. The terrifying power of not having a bottleneck was displayed in an instant. The spiritual power of dozens of spirit jades was gathered by Lin Yi and directly made Jin Weifeng reach the great completion of the Gold Core realm. Jin Weifeng's body shook, and he immediately opened his eyes in surprise and said, "I'm already at the great completion of the Gold Core realm? Grandmaster, you're really amazing." If he had to describe it in one sentence, Jin Weifeng might say, "I closed my eyes and opened them, and I went from the peak of the Gold Core realm to the great completion of the Gold Core realm." Lin Yi turned his hand and took out a nascent soul golden pill and handed it to Jin Weifeng and said, "Your physique is indeed strong. Because you have no bottleneck, you don't need to stabilize your strength. Now break through to the nascent soul realm in one go." Jin Weifeng saw the supreme grade nascent soul golden pill in Lin Yi's palm and was immediately shocked. "Grandmaster, this is too precious, and I have just reached the great completion of the nascent soul realm. Can I take the nascent soul golden pill now?" The Fishman's new book, CEO Schoolbell Relies on Me, is being serialized. I recommend everyone to read it. Please add the Fishman's QQ God public account Fishman to WeChat public account Urine22, all kinds of latest news and the latest developments of the Fishman. Chapter 55:27. Others may not be able to do it, but for you the faster the better. Don't forget the broken bamboo physique. When you encounter a big barrier, you have to break through it with irresistible force. The longer it takes, the more difficult it will be to break through the barrier. Lin Yi reminded. Lin Yi was not clear about the broken bamboo physique at first, but when Jin Weifeng broke through just now, his divine sense had been paying close attention to the condition of Jin Weifeng's body, so now he had a lot of understanding of the broken bamboo physique. As for Jin Weifeng's attitude, Lin Yi was really satisfied. This little guy was smart and calm enough. The key was that when he saw the best grade nascent soul golden pill, he did not show the slightest greed. His eyes were clear. To be honest, Lin Yi had already thought about training Jin Weifeng to be the next sect leader of Qingyin sect. After a slight pause, Lin Yi continued, "One more thing, because of your special physique, you didn't need to take elixirs to break through before. In the entire Gold Core stage, this should be the first time you took elixirs, right? This is the best effect. Even if you don't have the broken bamboo physique, in this case, you don't have to worry about any problems at all." Jin Weifeng no longer hesitated when he heard that. He immediately took the nascent soul golden pill from Lin Yi with both hands and said, respectfully, "Disciple thanks Grand Master for your cultivation. In the future, I will definitely contribute to Qingyin sect and strengthen our Qingyin sect." After a few simple words, Jin Weifeng raised his head and swallowed the nascent soul golden pill, and once again entered the state of cultivation. Lin Yi was right. Because Jin Weifeng did not have the existence of bottlenecks in the whole realm, so when he finally broke through the barrier of the big realm, the faster he broke through, the greater the chance of success. when he just entered the great perfection of gold core, if he took the best grade nascent soul golden pill, breaking through to nascent soul was basically a sure thing. There was no need to worry at all. Watching Jin Weifeng breaking through to nascent soul, Lin Yi was not in a hurry to leave. He sat aside to protect Jin Weifeng and observe how powerful the broken bamboo physique was. As a result, it only took Jin Weifeng a little more than half an hour to condense the nascent soul golden pill. Lin Yi was also speechless. Even with the help of the best grade nascent soul golden pill, it was too fast. It was even faster than Lin Yi directly using the jade space to help others. More importantly, the nascent soul condensed by Jin Weifeng was definitely not the weakest. The most important thing was that Jin Weifeng condensed. Jin nascent soul condensed was definitely not the weakest. Tiet, nascent Jin to Tuit. At the Tian sect, the Tian Su nascent and nascent he third sect at Ti he Su he. After all, they had been brother sects for so many years. Since Blue Cloud sect was going to rise, he naturally had to bring Xuanji sect along. The North Island was one of the three major sects, not the second. After exchanging a few pleasantries, Xianijia went straight to the point and said to Hong Xianlei, "Sect leader of Xuanji sect, sect leader Hong, the three major sects of the North Island are one family. Have you ever considered returning to the North Island Alliance?" There was a reason for that. After Xuanji sect found Five Elements sect as their backing, although they were still in the North Island Alliance, they were already considered part of the Middle Island Alliance. Hong Xianlei was a little amused when he heard that. He chuckled and said, "Why? The Shangguan family can't protect you anymore? So, you want Xuanji sect to go back and help you?" Xianijia, I didn't expect you to be such a person. It's fine if you're unlucky, but you want to drag Xuanji sect down with you? At the moment, the news that the two nascent soul cultivators of Qinkuan sect were killed by Lin Yi had not spread yet. Firstly, it happened too soon. Secondly, it was a shameful thing, so Qinkuan sect would only try to cover it up instead of spreading the news. It was completely different from them spreading the news that Lin Yi had killed the son of the sect leader. Therefore, Hong Xianlei only knew that Blue Cloud sect had offended Qinkuan sect and that the situation was not good. He had no idea that the situation had been completely reversed. Moreover, as a sect that was not even one of the top 10 small sects and had broken away from the three major sects of the North Island, their new allies would not take them seriously. Therefore, they were isolated from the world in terms of intelligence. Until now, Hong Xianlei still thought that Xianijia was still a cultivator in the gold core stage. After all, he himself was only in the peak gold core stage. Xianijia did not expect Hong Xianlei to be so rude. However, as a nice guy, Xianijia could understand Hong Xianlei's feelings. Therefore, he smiled patiently and said, "Sect leader Hong, you have no idea. Actually, Qinkuan sect is not that great. Our grand uncle master of Blue Cloud sect has returned. The three major sects of the North Island will definitely do something in the Archean grand meeting this time. Today is the day to reinvigorate the North Island." Hong Xianlei sneered and said with disdain, "Xianijia, you're quite good at talking big now. Reinvigorate the North Island? Qinkuan sect is not that great? I don't think the Qinkuan sect is a big deal. They can crush the entire North Island Alliance with just a little finger. As for that senior granduncle of yours, he's just a primordial spirit in the great perfection of the building foundation establishment stage. He can kill him with a fart. You'd better put him in your pants and protect him." His words were extremely harsh. Xianijia would not be bothered if it was anything else. However, Hong Xianlei actually insulted Lin Yi with his words. This made Xianijia a little angry. "Hong Xianlei, be more respectful with your words. The Grand Uncle Master of my Blue Cloud sect is also the Grand Uncle Master of your Xuanji sect. Is it the rule of your Xuanji sect to disrespect your elders?" Although Exionijia was angry, he suppressed his anger and tried to reason with Hong Xianlei for the sake of the Brotherhood of the North Island. However, Hong Xianlei did not want to reason with Exionijia at all. He still said arrogantly, Blue Cloud Sect is Blue Cloud Sect. Xuanji Sect is Xuanji Sect. It's fine if you like to make a weakling your ancestor, but don't drag Xuanji Sect into it. To tell you the truth, Xuanji Sect will be glorious if we follow the Five Elements Sect. This time the Five Elements Sect has agreed to help Xuanji Sect enter the top 10 small sects. As for who will replace, it's very likely to be your Blue Cloud Sect. Don't blame me for not telling you when the time comes. After saying that, Hong Xianlei laughed out loud proudly. If he knew that Exionijia, who he looked down on and was suppressing his anger, was actually a nascent soul realm old monster who was almost a level higher than him, he might have died from laughing so hard. Exionijia was so angry that his face turned green. After all, he was not Lin Yi. If it was Lin Yi, he would have slapped this idiot who only knew how to laugh like an idiot. However, even if Exionijia had the ability to do so, he did not do it because he cared about the last bit of his relationship with Hong Xuanji. He just walked away without saying a word. The Murloc's new book, The Campus Bell CO Relies on Me, is being serialized. I recommend everyone to read it. Please add the Murloc's official QQ account, Murloc2, and WeChat official Urine 22 for the latest news and the latest news about the Murloc. Chapter 55-28. Since Hong Xianlei did not appreciate it, Exionijia did not want to say anything more to him. Originally, Blue Cloud Sect was going to be the top of the 4 big sections. It was a piece of cake to give Xuanji Sect a position among the 10 small sections. But now, Xuanji Sect could do whatever they wanted. Qinquan Sect was about to kneel down. What about Five Elements Sect? At this time in the Qinquan Sect, Taoist Transcending Tribulation really wanted to kneel down. Looking at the 2 badly mutilated corpses on the floor of the hall, Taoist Transcending Tribulation was dumbfounded and didn't know what to say. Even Tribulation Immortal had a deep sense of fear in his heart. These 2 were the 3rd and 4th most powerful cultivators in Qinquan Sect, second only to him. They were bitten by dogs in such a short time. Sect leader, the 2 elders were thrown out of the ruined town by Exionijia of Blue Cloud Sect, and then they were bitten by the wild dogs. Exionijia left after he saw the 2 elders being bitten, so I had to wait for him to leave before I went to retrieve the bodies of the elders, so... The disciple of Qinquan Sect said in a trembling voice. This disciple was just a peripheral spy of Qinquan Sect. His strength was not even in the Gold Core realm. It was too difficult for him to snatch the 2 elders from Exionijia. Even Exionijia could not defeat Exionijia in the past. It was hard for Exionijia. Lin Yi just said to throw them out to feed the dogs, and Exionijia really did it. There were no dogs in the ruined town, so he could only throw them out of the ruined town. When the wild dogs bit them, Exionijia went back to report. The disciple who followed Exionijia could only watch as the 2 distinguished elders were fed to the dogs. It was the best he could do to retrieve the 2 corpses from the wild dogs after much effort. Poor 2 nascent soul realm cultivators. In fact, their primordial spirits were imprisoned by Lin Yi, but their bodies were not dead. In the end, they were bitten to death by the wild dogs. It was such a shame. Tribulation Immortal felt a little weak. He quickly sat down and calmed himself down. Then he waved his hand weakly and said, "You can leave now. Don't let others know about this." The disciple was in a difficult position. It would be difficult to not let others know about this matter. However, he couldn't disobey the sect leader's order. He could only respectfully say, "Yes, sect leader." Then he bowed and left. After a while, Tribulation Immortal finally came to his senses. He realized the situation was serious, so he immediately sent a letter to Tribulation Immortal Dunan, who was in charge of the sect. He reported the ins and outs of the matter in detail, hoping to Tribulation Immortal Du's instructions. The Qianquan sect had a total of 7 nascent soul cultivators, and 3 of them had already died before the nascent soul sect could Ming. Not to Kun, but the Wan. Not Kun, not to say that. To sect not, but more. Qian of Yang, of Yi. It didn't seem wise for the Qianquan sect to become enemies with such a guy. While Jinren Jia was having a headache, Xianijia rushed back to the courtyard of Jadian's sect in anger. He happened to see Jin Weifeng, who had successfully broken through to the nascent soul realm. His anger turned into joy, and he said, "Weifeng, you've broken through to the nascent soul realm so quickly? Good lad. You really didn't disappoint Master." Jin Weifeng hurriedly bowed and said, "It's all thanks to Marshal Granduncle and Master's guidance. Otherwise, I wouldn't have the achievements I have today." All right. I can't stand seeing you guys being so sentimental." Lin Yi hurriedly waved his hand to interrupt the master and disciple who were about to start praising each other. Instead, he asked, "Ijia, did you go to the Profound Theory sect when you came back?" Xianijia was furious when he mentioned Xuanji faction. He scoffed and said, "Let's not talk about it. Marshal Granduncle, I've made a mistake this time. I thought that Xuanji faction was still a brother sect of our Jadian sect. In the end, it was just my wishful thinking." Before Lin Yi could ask, Xianijia told him about the process of going to Xuanji faction. He did not exaggerate or add any personal feelings. He was just narrating it truthfully. Lin Yi was not angry after listening to him. He just said indifferently, "Everyone has their own ambitions. Let them be." Lin Yi didn't have much of a good impression of the Xuanji sect in the first place, and now that they didn't appreciate it, it was even better that they didn't appreciate it. Lin Yi couldn't be bothered to play with them anymore. He'd just leave them be. As for Soaring Heaven sect, the Shangguan family would naturally inform them. There was no need for Xianijia to go there. Moreover, Soaring Heaven sect and Jadian sect should be on good terms. They should not be as ignorant as Xuanji faction. Ijia, you don't have to worry about those things. Get ready. We, Jadian sect, are going to break through to the top 4. With Jin Weifeng, Jadian sect was qualified to become one of the top 4. Now, Lin Yi just had to wait for the opening of the Archaeozoic Grand Meeting. With Jin Weifeng and Lin Yi himself, Jadian sect had 3 nascent soul cultivators. They had the hardware to become one of the top 4. Of course, when Jin Weifeng was not around, Lin Yi did not care about this rule at all. When one's strength reached a certain level, this meaningless rule was actually meaningless. However, what Lin Yi was worried about was that he could not stay in Jadian sect on the North Island all the time. No matter how powerful a person was, if he left for a long time, his deterrence would be reduced. The Thousand Blades faction was a living example. Before the start of the Archaeozoic Grand Meeting, Xianijia still had the opportunity to take the nascent soul golden elixir to break through to the full cycle of nascent soul. As for Jin Weifeng, Lin Yi did not plan to let him take the nascent soul golden elixir again. With broken bamboo physique, taking the nascent soul golden elixir was not only a waste, but it would also increase the difficulty of Jin Weifeng's breakthrough in the future. As long as Jin Weifeng continued to cultivate by himself, he could complete the major upgrade of the nascent soul stage. Finally, when he reached the full cycle of nascent soul, with the help of the elixir, he might be able to break through to profound ascension. How long had it been since there was a master of the profound ascension stage in the Archaeozoic underworld? With Lin Yi, Jin Weifeng might become the first profound ascension in the Archaeozoic underworld for thousands of years. It was because of Jin Weifeng's potential that Lin Yi wanted Jin Weifeng to become the next leader of Jadian sect. Therefore, what Lin Yi prepared for Jin Weifeng were top-grade spiritual jades. Anyway, spiritual jades were just numbers to Lin Yi. Giving Jin Weifeng tens of thousands of spiritual jades was enough for him to improve his strength quickly. Of course, spiritual jades were not endless. The main reason why Lin Yi was so generous was that spiritual jades could be recycled. When they were almost used up, he could directly throw them into the space of the jade pendant to recharge, and then take out a new batch to use. It was almost inexhaustible. Murlock's new book, CEO Schoolbell Relies on Me, is being serialized. I recommend everyone to read it. Please add Murlock's QQ Guru public account, Murlock2, WeChat public account Urine22. All kinds of latest news. Latest news about Murlock. Chapter 5529. Just like that, 2 days passed peacefully. All the sects in Ruined Town felt strange. Why didn't Qingquan sect cause trouble for Qingyun sect? The news that Qingyun sect Lin Yi killed the son of Qingquan sect leader was spread widely by Qingquan sect. But in the end, it was all bark and no bite. As the incident of Exanigia feeding the 2 Qingquan sect elders to the dogs happened outside of Ruined Town, Qingquan sect deliberately hid the truth, so most of the sects didn't know about it. The few who knew about it, after receiving a warning from Qingquan sect, didn't dare to speak carelessly, or they might be wiped out at any time. Under such circumstances, most of the people were guessing that when the Azure Cloud sect went to the Shangguan clan to pay their respects, they were accepted by the Shangguan clan. Because of that, the Qingquan sect decided to give face to the Azure Cloud sect, and decided to wait until the immemorial grand meeting to kill the Azure Cloud sect with their ultimate move. The only thing that the onlookers couldn't figure out was, when did the weakest of the 4 Shangguan clan become so hot-blooded, and their reputation had become so useful that they could actually make Qingquan sect temporarily hold back? Just when all kinds of guesses were evolving and getting further and further away from the truth, something happened that made all the onlookers completely dumbfounded. It was still in the dining hall of an inn, and the fuse of this incident was still Duan Muyu. Of course, Duan Muyu was still eating and didn't mean to cause any trouble, but she still incurred the wrath of Qingquan sect. No one knew whether she was a femme fatale or just unlucky, stinky. How could you eat here with such a clear conscience? Today, I will avenge my poor nephew. A burly middle-aged man came in and saw Duan Muyu eating alone. His eyes suddenly turned red, and he rushed over with a roar. This middle-aged man was the late Jian stage of Qingquan sect. He was also the second uncle of the son of the leader who was killed, Jinhua. Taoist master Du Jie had more than one woman and more than one son. But Jinhua's sister only had one son, the one who was killed by Lin Yi. Facing the unfathomable Lin Yi, Qingquan sect no longer dared to touch Lin Yi and Jadian sect easily. Although Jinhua was not the top management of Qingquan sect, but because of that relationship, Du Jiejinren had specially warned him. Since Lin Yi and Jadian sect could not be touched, the grievance in Jinhua's heart could be imagined. He was still counting on his nephew to help him in the future, but now there was no hope at all. After all, even if his nephew wasn't particularly outstanding, he would still end up as the great elder in the end. Therefore, when he saw Duan Muyu, the fuse that caused a series of tragedies, Jinhua was immediately enraged. With a loud roar, he rushed over. Duan Muyu was just a disciple from the declining Yiling sect, and the Yiling sect's backer was the Heaven Awakening sect, which was only slightly stronger than the Shangguan clan. Most importantly, Jinhua knew that the Heaven Awakening sect didn't really like the Yiling sect, and there was no way they would go against the Qingquan sect just for a disciple from the Yiling sect. Since he couldn't do anything to Lin Yi, he'd just have to deal with this damned girl first. Jinhua had a good plan in mind, so when he saw Duan Muyu alone, he attacked without hesitation. In terms of strength, Jinhua was in the late Jian stage, while Duan Muyu was at the peak of the middle Jian stage. The gap was quite small. However, Duan Muyu was a genius disciple of Yiling sect, while Jinhua relied on nepotism and resources to reach the late Jian stage by Qingquan sect. His combat strength was weaker than Duan Muyu's. Therefore, when Duan Muyu noticed Jinhua's attack, he didn't panic at all. He just easily put on a defensive and counterattack posture. However, Duan Muyu didn't have a chance to attack at all. Someone rushed to block Jin Hua's attack for him. How dare you? How dare you attack so casually in an inn? Do you still have any respect for the 4 major sects and families? With a loud shout, Shangguan Luyin suddenly appeared and slapped Jin Hua's face. Jin Hua's face instantly turned 100 degrees, and his neck almost broke. Shangguan Luyin extended his hand and grabbed onto Jin Hua's collar, pulling him back. His other hand sent out another slap. The pitiful Jin Hua's face instantly swelled up like a balloon. Shangguan Luyin had already shown mercy. Otherwise, Jin Hua's head would have exploded from that slap. You unruly thing! How dare you act violently in front of me? Do you believe that I won't slap you to death, you bastard? Shangguan Luyin scolded as he continued to punch and kick Jin Hua. Fortunately, Shangguan Luyin didn't have the intention to kill. Otherwise, Jin Hua would have been turned into a pile of minced meat. Senior Shangguan, I know I was wrong. Please forgive me. Jin Hua's face was swollen like a pig's head. It took him a lot of effort to squeeze out a sentence, but it was to beg for his life. Shangguan Luyin didn't go too far. After all, Jin Hua was just a small fry. Even if he killed him, it wouldn't show off Shangguan Luyin's power. Casually throwing Jin Hua on the ground like a broken sack, Shangguan Tianhua said coldly, "Seeing that we're both from the 4 major sects and families, I will let you live today. Hurry up and scram." Yes, yes, yes. I will scram now. I will scram now. Jin Hua felt that his bones were about to fall apart. After he struggled to stand up, he nodded his head and said something vaguely. Then he immediately turned around and ran for his life. Not to mention that Jin Hua, a late-stage gold core realm cultivator, even if he was facing a middle-stage gold core realm cultivator from the Shangguan family, he wouldn't even dare to let out a fart. After all, others didn't know, but Jin Hua was very clear that the Shangguan family was on the same side as Lin Yi. Otherwise, the 2 nascent soul realm cultivators who went to the Shangguan family to find trouble wouldn't have died so miserably. Of course, Jin Hua would never have thought that the relationship between the Shangguan family and Lin Yi wasn't what he imagined. They had already become Lin Yi's underling. As for the onlookers at the side, they were already stunned. It was normal for Jin Hua to not dare to provoke Shangguan Luyin. After all, a gold core realm cultivator wouldn't even have the ability to resist against a nascent soul realm cultivator. The key was that Jin Hua was too cowardly, right? No matter what, he was the brother-in-law of the Qinkuan sect leader. After being taught a lesson by Shangguan Luyin, he didn't even dare to say a few words. He was just going to be cowardly and cowardly? Was this still the powerful and overbearing person from the Qinkuan sect? Fishman's new book, CEO School Bell Clings to Me, is in the midst of serialization. I recommend everyone to read it. Please add Fishman's official QQ account, Fishman2, WeChat official year in 22. All kinds of latest news and updates. Fishman's latest news. Chapter 5530. And Shangguan Luyin, was it really okay for him to beat up the Qinkuan sect disciple? Since when did the cowardly Shangguan family become so bold? Thank you, Senior Shangguan, for your help. Duanmuyu stood up and thanked him politely. Although she didn't need Shangguan Luyin's help to get rid of Jin Hua, he still helped her. She still had to thank him. Shangguan Luyin swept away his stern look, turned around and said with a smile, "Taoist Duanmu, you don't have to be so polite. This is what I should do. Our Shangguan family also has a share in this inn. We can't just watch others break the rules." In fact, this was all nonsense. Shangguan Luyin was just giving face to Lin Yi. How did the son of the Qinkuan sect master die? Wasn't it because he wanted to flirt with Duanmuyu? Lin Yi killed Duanmuyu without saying a word. Now that there was an opportunity, if Shangguan Luyin didn't grasp it, then he would be a fool. To be honest, Shangguan Luyin was really grateful to that fool Jin Hua. If it wasn't for him, he wouldn't have the chance to please Lin Yi. However, Shangguan Luyin would never mention Lin Yi. Lin Yi would definitely know about this. If he mentioned Lin Yi now, it would be too deliberate. On the contrary, it would make Lin Yi remember that Shangguan Luyan helped him. Senior Shangguan, please call me by my name directly. Duan Mu Yu still didn't know about the relationship between the Shangguan family and Lin Yi. In her eyes, the Shangguan family was still one of the four great sections. Shangguan Luyan was also a powerful nascent soul stage expert. Calling him a fellow Taoist was a bit inappropriate. Don't be so polite, it's just a form of address. Continue eating, I won't disturb you. Shangguan Luyan thought to himself, I want to call you senior. With your relationship with Martial Uncle Master Lin Yi, calling you fellow Taoist is already me climbing up the social ladder. After saying that, Shangguan Luyan immediately took his leave, leaving the confused Duan Muyu to sit down and continue eating in confusion. She didn't know what Lin Yi had been busy with these past 2 days. He didn't even come to look for her. She could only dawdle and eat here, hoping to see him. What a bastard! Duan Muyu chewed hard on the food in her mouth and thought bitterly. Yi Qingqing wanted her to take the initiative to find Lin Yi, but the originally free and easy Duan Muyu became shy again. She completely lost the courage to make tea and play the zither to express her feelings to Lin Yi. After a brief commotion, the hall regained its calm. However, the way the cultivators looked at Duan Muyu had changed. Perhaps they would have to reevaluate the Yiling sect. No one noticed that a disciple of the Xuanji sect also left the hall quietly after Shangguan Luyan left. He quickly ran back to the Xuanji sect's encampment and reported what he saw to Hong Xianlei. From the situation just now, the Qiankuan sect didn't seem to be as powerful as they had imagined, and the Shangguan clan didn't seem to be as weak as they had expected. This disciple felt that if he reported what he saw to the sect master, perhaps the Xuanji sect would pay attention to their strategy for the archaic meeting. However, after Hong Xianlei heard it, he glared and cursed. Bullsh *T. What the hell are you talking about? That useless Shangguan Luyan dared to attack someone from the Qiankuan sect? And Jin Hua from the Qiankuan sect? Stop King joking. Even if it was a foundation establishment disciple from the Qiankuan sect, would Shangguan Luyan dare to attack him? But what I said is the truth. Jin Hua from the Qiankuan sect was really badly beaten up by Shangguan Luyan. Although he didn't suffer any fatal injuries, he definitely lost all his face. Sect master, do you think the Shangguan clan has something to rely on? This disciple was loyal to the Xuanji sect and guessed the truth. Hong Xianlei sneered and said, Rely on? I think the Shangguan clan's reliance is a traitor like you, right? Speak. How many benefits did the Blue Cloud sect and the Shangguan clan give you for you to advocate for them so desperately? You want me to return to the North Island, right? What a joke! You want to deceive me with such a small trick? That disciple was stunned. He didn't expect that he would be bought over by the Shangguan clan and the Blue Cloud sect when he came to report the news loyally. Sect master, what I said is the truth. This happened in front of everyone's eyes. Just ask around and you'll know that I'm not lying. That disciple's words were reasonable. As long as they went to ask around, they would know that this news was absolutely true. However, Hong Xianlei already had a preconceived notion. He was certain that this disciple was lying to him. Seeing that this fellow was still trying to quibble, he immediately flew into a rage. You spy! You're still trying to fool me at a time like this? You've really underestimated me. I will definitely not be deceived by a despicable person like you. Men, take him away and lock him up. After the arcade convention is over, bring him back to the sect and deal with him properly. Sect master, this disciple is innocent. Sect master. That unlucky disciple didn't know that no matter what he said, it would no longer change Hong Xianlei's opinion of him. The farce in the Xuanji sect was not known by the people outside. As the arcade convention was about to begin, the market in the ruins town finally became really lively. At this time, all the sects and clans participating in the Archean Grand Meeting had basically arrived. Therefore, the trading in the marketplace had gradually become lively. Every clan and sect would trade some heavenly materials and earthly treasures at this time. If they were lucky, they might continue to improve their strength before the Archean Grand Meeting and fight for more benefits for their sections. That was Gene Weifeng's plan, so he went to the market early in the morning. He was now a master of the original infant stage, and although he didn't have any bottlenecks before he reached the peak of original infant stage, it would be impossible for him to increase his strength again within 2 or 3 days. After all, he wasn't Lin Yi, and he couldn't use those overbearing methods to directly extract the spiritual energy from the spiritual jades. Regular practice only made his speed a few times faster than others. After looking around, Gene Weifeng felt that there were still a lot of good things. However, after all, he had improved from the foundation establishment stage to the original infant stage in just over a year. He was still not confident in his judgment of these good things. Therefore, Gene Weifeng decided to go back and find Grandmaster Lin Yi and his master Exanijia to have a look together. Gene Weifeng immediately went back to talk to Lin Yi and Exanijia. Both of them immediately agreed. In the past 2 days, Exanijia had used the nascent soul golden core to break through to the great perfection of the original infant stage. Even without Lin Yi, he was already the top combat power in the archaic small underworld. Therefore, there was no point in continuing to cultivate in seclusion. It was not a bad idea to go out and have a look. The Fishman's new book, School Bell CEO Relies on Me, is being serialized. I recommend everyone to read it. Please add the Fishman's official QQ account, Fishman2, and WeChat account Urine 22 for all kinds of latest news and the latest news about the Fishman. Chapter 5531. When the 3 of them went out, Duanmuyu, who had eaten for 4 hours, happened to leave. Lin Yi did not use his divine sense to observe the entire ruined town, so the 2 of them just walked past each other. If Duanmuyu knew about this, he would definitely extend his meal time to 6 hours after leaving an inn. Lin Yi asked casually, "Ijia, did our Green Cloud sect have a habit of selling some things in the past?" Exai and Ijia nodded and said, "Of course we do, but we only exchange some small things for some spiritual jades. Now that you've given the sect so many spiritual jades, we don't need to sell things anymore." Exai and Ijia nodded and said, "Of course we do." After a short pause, Exai and Ijia continued, "But before the grand event starts, selling some high-class things is also a demonstration of the sect's strength. The higher the level, the more it can reflect the sect's strength. After all, before the grand event starts, there's a voting session for all the sections. Selling high-class things in the marketplace is a disguised way to canvass votes." "A voting session for all the sects? What's that?" Lin Yi asked curiously. He had never heard of such a thing before. Exai then remembered that his Grandmaster was not familiar with the rules of the Archean Grand Event. So he quickly explained, "Grandmaster, it's actually not something important, so I didn't think of reporting it to you. The so-called voting session for all the sects is actually to determine the qualification to challenge." The so-called qualification to challenge referred to the possibility of challenging the top sections. The original Big Four and 10 small sects would automatically be qualified to challenge the Big Four and 10 small sects. But the 10 small sects might not necessarily be qualified to challenge the Big Four, and the other sects might not necessarily be qualified to challenge the 10 small sects. Take the Green Cloud sect as an example. As one of the old 10 small sects, they were qualified to challenge the 10 small sects without voting. However, when all the sects voted, they did not think that the Green Cloud sect was qualified to challenge the Big Four. Therefore, the Green Cloud sect must first challenge the sects that were qualified to challenge the Big Four through voting. After winning, they could continue to challenge the Big Four. If the Green Cloud sect was qualified to challenge the Big Four in the voting session, they could challenge the Big Four at the very beginning. Another example was the Thousand Blade sect. They weren't even part of the 10 small sects. After voting, they would be able to challenge the 10 small sects. If the Thousand Blade sect had the strength of the 4 big sects, but was only qualified to challenge the 10 small sects, then they could only challenge them step by step. They couldn't challenge the 4 big sects. This rule basically allowed the sects that needed to challenge to advance step by step, while the big 4 and 10 small would have the advantage. After listening to Xian Ijia's explanation, Lin Yi thought about it carefully. He felt that this rule was not unreasonable, but it was not completely reasonable either. However, Lin Yi did not care. With his current strength, he could basically ignore these rules. Let's show them what we've got. Although Lin Yi could ignore the rules, it was better to avoid trouble if possible. Lin Yi nodded and continued. Other than enemies, there are our allies and sects that are afraid of us among the sects and families that came to participate in the Archean Grand Meeting. There are also sects that are afraid of us. There are also many that we haven't dealt with before. It's necessary to show our strength. It'll be best if we can get the qualification to challenge the Big 4 directly. It'll be a waste of time if we have to fight for the qualification. Grand Uncle is wise. Xian Ijia was not surprised at all. He would do whatever Lin Yi said. It was proven that it was never wrong to follow Lin Yi. It was Jin Weifeng's first time hearing Lin Yi say that he wanted to challenge the Big 4. Although he was looking forward to it, he could not hide his excitement when he heard it. Challenging the Big 4 was the best stage for Jin Weifeng to repay his grand uncle and master. As they spoke, the 3 arrived at the outskirts of the market. Both sides of the road were filled with small stalls, but they were all in an orderly manner. Lin Yi's divine sense scanned through the stalls and shook his head in disappointment. There was nothing that caught his eye in these stalls. However, the deeper they went, the better the quality of the items. Xian Ijia saw Lin Yi's expression and quickly explained. Grand Uncle, the stalls outside are set up by some small sects and the 10 small sects candidates. Further in are the stalls that are qualified to challenge the 10 small sects and the 10 small sections. The items will be much better than the ones here. Lin Yi nodded faintly and did not say much. With his divine sense, he naturally knew that the items inside were much better than the ones outside. Unfortunately, in Lin Yi's eyes, there was not much difference. At his level, if it was not really good, it would not be able to arouse his interest. Xian Ijia continued. Actually, the real best items won't be put up for sale at this time. Only after the Archean Grand Meeting ends and the ranking is settled will all the sects take out their best items to participate in the final barter exchange meeting and the finale auction. Otherwise, if they take out their best items now, it'll be bad if they end up helping others and getting themselves into trouble in the end. Xian Ijia continued. That's right. Hearing this, Lin Yi could not help but smile. This statement was quite interesting, but it was also the truth. If Lin Yi took out a few nascent soul realm golden pills and sold them to rival sects like Qinkuan sect, would it not increase the difficulty of his challenge in the end? However, Lin Yi himself did not mind having a few more nascent soul realm masters as his enemies. It was just that this kind of behavior was too stupid and not something that a normal person would do. All right. Let's find a place to set up our stall. I'm not interested in the items here. It's better to let them have a look, said Lin Yi with a smile. Then he used his divine sense to look for an empty spot. Soon, he found a good spot that was unoccupied. That's it. Follow me. Lin Yi pointed at an empty spot in the distance and walked over with Xian Ijia and Jin Weifeng. When Lin Yi stopped at the empty spot, Xian Ijia could not help but twitch his mouth. He wanted to say something, but he did not say anything in the end. Lin Yi took out some medicinal pills that he did not need and passed them to Xian Ijia. You set up the stall. Jin Weifeng quickly took over and said, Let me do it. I've done things like setting up a stall before. What a joke. One of them was the Grand Master of Qingyun sect, and the other was the sect leader of Qingyun sect. If they really set up the stall themselves, it would be so embarrassing. The Fishman's new book, School Bell CO Relies on Me, is being serialized. I recommend everyone to read it. Please add the Fishman's official QQ account, Fishman2, and WeChat official Urine 22 for the latest news and the latest news about the Fishman. Chapter 5532. Genius 1 second. Remember if you want to go? To provide you with wonderful novels to read. Jin Weifeng had good eyesight, but he didn't think that he was now a Yuaning stage old monster of the Qingyan sect, which meant that he had the status of an elder. A dignified Yuaning stage elder of the Qingyan sect setting up a stall was actually not much different from the sect master. When Jin Weifeng checked the elixirs that Linny gave him, he couldn't help but be secretly shocked. What kind of elixirs were these? Although there were no strategic elixirs like Yuaning stage golden elixirs that could directly enhance one's strength, there were many elixirs like the 5th grade recover pill that could save one's life. Moreover, they were all of the best quality. Hey, why did the 5 Elements sect set up a stall so early this year? Let's go and see if there are any elixirs. Seeing that there was a stall here, people immediately rushed over. Lin Yi's ears twitched. He suddenly remembered that the 5 Elements sect was also an alchemist, and that Master Chen was one of them. These people thought that they were from the 5 Elements sect who came out to buy elixirs, but he was too lazy to take the initiative to explain. Wow, this is the best 5th grade recover pill. Am I dreaming? The 5 Elements sect is really going all out this time. Brother, how much is this elixir? Some knowledgeable people saw the 5th grade recover pill at a glance and immediately rushed over with shining eyes. They couldn't wait to directly grab the elixir in their hands. This was a good thing that could save one's life at a critical moment. Jin Weifeng secretly glanced at Lin Yi, wanting to know how much Lin Yi priced these elixirs. Lin Yi really had no idea about the price of the ancient small world, so he immediately gave Jin Weifeng a look that said, "Do as you see fit." Jin Weifeng immediately knew what was going on. He immediately turned his head, stuck out his chest, and proudly stretched out a finger, saying, "This is the best 5th grade recover pill. 50 spirit jades, no bargaining." Lin Yi almost spat out a mouthful of blood. "No bargaining, your sister. This is the best recover pill, not the best cabbage. 50 spirit jades? Is it enough for the price of the materials?" Lin Yi looked at Jin Weifeng with an exasperated expression. He couldn't tell that this kid was a prodigal. A top grade, 5th grade, great revitalizing pill was actually sold for only 50 spirit jades? Speaking of which, why did you have to stretch out a finger to sell it for 50 spirit jades? Representing 1 star? Normally it should represent 100 spirit jades, right? Unknowingly, Lin Yi had been led into a ditch by Jin Weifeng. Was there a difference between 100 spirit jades and 50 spirit jades? Wow, 50 spirit jades. There was a burst of exclamation from the crowd. Lin Yi reckoned that in the blink of an eye, the elixirs that he had taken out would be snatched up. However, the following words almost made Lin Yi have the urge to vomit blood again. So expensive? It's 50 spirit jades. This was what the passerby said. Exactly. So expensive. But the quality of the elixir is really good. 50 spirit jades for a life. It's really not expensive. This was what the passerby said. I'm going all out, even if I have to sell my pots and pans to buy one. But this elixir is really *king expensive. Brother, aren't you being too black-hearted? The third passerby painfully took out 50 spirit jades and bought a 5th grade great revitalizing pill. He didn't forget to complain to Jin Weifeng. Lin Yi was sweating profusely. 50 spirit jades is expensive? And black-hearted? Did you come out wearing sunglasses? It's black everywhere you look. If you think this is too expensive, please don't stop, get lost. Of course. This was just Lin Yi complaining in his heart. Anyway, what about spirit jades? Lin Yi didn't care at all. These elixirs were useless to him. He just wanted to earn some reputation for the Green Cloud sect. But today, everyone seemed to think that the 5 Elements sect was selling elixirs. After all, except for the 5 Elements sect, no one would sell a lot of elixirs. At most, they would exchange 1 or 2 elixirs that they didn't need for themselves for spiritual jades. Lin Yi didn't intend to explain. The Five Elements sect selling elixirs had become a common thing in the Archean Grand Meeting. If he directly said that these elixirs were from the Green Cloud sect, people might even think that these elixirs were fake. At that time, it would be even harder to sell them. It was better to let someone buy them and study them first. When the reputation of the elixirs was established, the signboard of the Green Cloud sect would be erected tomorrow. Then, the original purpose would be achieved. Exion Aegea said softly, "Grandmaster, although the price set by Jean Weifeng is low, it's considered acceptable. After all, the other small sects don't have many spiritual jades, so their purchasing power is limited." Exion Aegea said softly. There was something that Exion Aegea didn't say. If it wasn't for the sudden appearance of Marshal Uncle Lin Yi, the Green Cloud sect would probably be very poor now. Spiritual jades needed to be allocated and used in a planned way. Even if it was an elixir that cost 50 spiritual jades, they wouldn't be willing to buy it. Lin Yi nodded helplessly. When he was in Taishi Island, Ling Tianyu and Wei Yidao fought with each other because of a little spiritual jades. It seemed that the resources of spiritual jades in the small Archean underworld were really scarce. Otherwise, that situation wouldn't have happened. Because of the shortage of spiritual jades, the purchasing power of spiritual jades was relatively strong. It doesn't matter. Anyway, these elixirs are not for earning spiritual jades. Let Jean Weifeng deal with it himself, Lin Yi said lightly. He didn't care about the ridiculously low price anymore. In Lin Yi's opinion, the elixirs were even cheaper than cabbages. However, not everyone could buy them. There had never been such a scene of people rushing to buy them. However, the sales of the elixirs didn't stop. Slowly there were deals. There were still some people who didn't have enough spiritual jades, so they left first to raise money. Some returned to their sects, and some borrowed money from their friends. Anyway, they would still come back later to buy the elixirs they wanted. Lin Yi was naturally impatient to stay here. Seeing that there was no special situation, he left first. Exion Aegea was worried about his precious disciple, so he stayed to accompany Jean Weifeng. Before the sky turned dark, all the elixirs were finally sold out. Jean Weifeng was counting the spiritual jades, while Exion Aegea helped to clean up the stall. Two people came to the stall in a hurry. Exion Aegea didn't raise his head and said casually, "It's sold out today. If you want it, come back tomorrow." "You guys are setting up a stall here?" A familiar voice sounded above Exion Aegea's head. The tone was filled with anger. Exion Aegea raised his head and saw that it was indeed an old acquaintance. Hong Xianlei of Xuanji sect. Exion Aegea's face immediately turned cold. He said indifferently, "Is there a problem?" Chapter 55:33. A genius in a second to remember love? We provide you with exciting novels to read. Hong Xianlei did not see what Exion Aegea was selling, and it was no longer important. What was important was that Exion Aegea was occupying the stall. Is there a problem? I'm telling you clearly. Remove the word mo. Hong Xianlei was furious. He sneered and said, "Exion Aegea, don't tell me you don't know whose stall this is. Is this a place where you can set up a stall?" Exion Aegea stood up straight and looked around nonchalantly. "I don't see whose stall it is. Could it be Xuanji sect?" Hong Xianlei choked. Xuanji sect was not even one of the top 10. How could it be so close to the center? Exion Aegea was obviously slapping his face. "Exion Aegea, don't be so shameless." Hong Xianlei yelled angrily. "I'm reminding you out of kindness because we used to be on the same side and you're playing dumb with me? You're really dumb." Jean Weifeng came up and whispered to Exion Aegea, "Master, where did this idiot come from? He's so noisy. Do you want me to chase him away?" "Don't talk nonsense. He's the leader of Xuanji sect, the new right-hand man of Five Elements sect. Look at how cool he is," Exion Aegea said sarcastically. He was a nice guy, but he could not help but laugh at Hong Xuanlei's ignorance. Hong Xuanlei's face turned pale after being mocked by Exanigia. However, Exanigia still said calmly, "We'll find out soon who's the fool." However, since this stall is empty, the Green Cloud sect will still set up their stall here tomorrow. If you have any objections, you can come again tomorrow. After that, Exanigia nodded at Jin Weifeng, signaling him to ignore Hong Xianlei and go back. Hong Xianlei gnashed his teeth and roared, "Exanigia, don't say I didn't warn you. Go to the Five Elements sect right now and beg for forgiveness. For the sake of the North Island Alliance, I'll forgive you and put in a good word for you. Maybe the Five Elements sect will forgive you. Otherwise, you're dead." Exanigia didn't even turn his head. He just said indifferently, "People with different beliefs can't make plans together. Hong Xianlei, just take care of yourself. You don't have to worry about the Azure Cloud sect." Putting in a good word for the Blue Cloud sect? Not to mention the fact that the Blue Cloud sect didn't need it at all. Even if it did, the Profound Design sect probably didn't have the qualifications to speak up in the Five Elements sect. Even if the Profound Design sect could speak up, Exanigia didn't think that Hong Xianlei would say anything good. Ever since Exanigia and Hong Xianlei parted on bad terms at Xuanzhi sect, Exanigia had already seen through Hong Xuanlei's character. He had long since thought that Hong Xianlei was not a comrade who could stand by his side through thick and thin. Since that was the case, why should he care about him? However, it was a pity for the Profound Secret sect, which had been around for thousands of years. Hong Xianlei was about to fly into a rage. He immediately roared, "Fine. Exanigia, you're really something. Just you wait. Let's see how long you can be proud of yourself." After saying that, Hong Xianlei quickly overtook Exanigia and Jin Weifeng with his followers. He was ready to complain to the Five Elements sect. Exanigia still walked at a moderate pace, but he secretly shook his head in his heart. The Profound Secret sect was originally one of the top 10 small sects, but it wasn't without reason that it had declined. Just look at Hong Xianlei. Not only did he have no foresight, but he was also too secretive about the news. Although the Qiankuan sect's defeat at the hands of the Shangguan clan hadn't been widely spread, the four great sects were basically aware of it. Those sects that were valued by the four great sects would naturally receive some news as well. Even if they didn't receive any news in this regard, they could infer that the Blue Cloud sect was not a pushover after the death of the son of the Qiankuan sect's leader. In any case, there were several pieces of news that proved that the Blue Cloud sect was not to be trifled with. Just look at the Qiankuan sect. However, Hong Xianlei, the leader of the Profound Secret sect, was not even one of the top 10 small sections. Why would he provoke the Blue Cloud sect so vigorously? Was it because the Blue Cloud sect was originally a brother sect of the Profound Secret sect, so he liked to trample on the Blue Cloud sect? Lin Yi wandered over leisurely. He walked around casually and happened to meet Exanigia and the rest. "Who's that?" Lin Yi lifted his chin and asked casually in Hong Xuanlei's direction. He saw what happened earlier from afar, but he didn't use his divine sense to observe. It was just a small matter that didn't deserve his attention. Exanigia chuckled and said bitterly, "It's the leader of the Profound Secret sect, Hong Xianlei." So it's this idiot. Lin Yi thought to himself. He glanced at him casually and then moved his eyes away. There was nothing to pay attention to such a small figure. What's wrong with him? Did he have a conflict with you? Lin Yi didn't care about Hong Xianlei, but he still cared about Exanigia. Exanigia shrugged and said, "Actually, it's nothing much. It's just that there's an unwritten rule that the best items are sold inside. Usually, only the big four can use it. Our stall today usually belongs to the Five Elements sect, so Hong Xianlei felt that we offended the Five Elements sect. That's why he was furious." "Huh, what a good dog," Lin Yi said with a light chuckle. He turned his head and put the matter to the back of his mind. It wasn't a big deal. They just used the Five Elements sect stall. The Five Elements sect didn't even say anything, So why did the profound secret sect make a fuss? However, Lin Yi finally understood the meaning of those discussions just now. It turned out that it wasn't because they were selling elixirs to make people think that they were from the Five Element sect, but that the stall actually belonged to the Five Element sect. After Hong Xianlei left in a rage, he immediately went to the Five Elements sect to ask for an audience. However, with the status of the profound secret sect, it wasn't easy to meet the higher-ups of the Five Elements sect. Hong Xianlei didn't know whether he was lucky or unlucky to meet Lin Yi's old acquaintance, Master Qin. Master Qin, who was in a good mood, didn't think too much and agreed to meet Hong Xianlei. When Hong Xianlei saw Master Qin, he immediately bowed and greeted him. Then he went straight to the point. Master Qin, I heard that the stall of the Five Elements sect was occupied in the market today. What? Who is so bold to occupy the stall of the Five Elements sect? Is it the Qinkuan sect? Master Qin was slightly stunned. He wasn't as angry as Hong Xianlei thought. Chapter 5534. Genius 1 Second Remember Love? Go. Small. Say net, providing you with wonderful novels to read. I didn't see which sect they were from. I only heard about it from others, Hong Xianlei said slowly. He had deliberated over these words several times in his mind, but he still didn't dare to say it too quickly, for fear that something would go wrong. However, I heard that the people who occupied our Five Elements sect stall also raised our Five Elements sect's banner. Don't you think that's a disgrace to our Five Elements sect? Although it couldn't be directly said that the Blue Cloud sect did it, it was still necessary to lay the groundwork in advance. When the Blue Cloud sect was exposed, it would be enough for the Five Elements sect to directly crush the Blue Cloud sect. As a result, there was one more place in the 10 small. Master Qin immediately said angrily, "This is simply outrageous. Not only did they occupy our Five Elements sect stall, but they actually dared to pretend to be us? Investigate immediately and find out who did it. This kind of thing must not be tolerated." Hong Xianlei hurriedly continued, "Master Qin, please calm down. Actually, there is no need to investigate. I heard that these people will continue to pretend to be our Five Elements sect tomorrow and set up a stall. When the time comes, we will know who they are. All right, you did a good job in this matter. I will remember your credit. By the way, what is your name again?" Master Qin nodded approvingly. He wanted to say a few more words of praise, but then he realized that he had forgotten the name of the person in front of him. "Love, go small, say net." Hong Xianlei immediately burst into tears. He kept saying that he was the Five Elements sect, but it turned out that the other party didn't take him seriously at all and didn't even bother to remember his name. "I am Hong Xianlei, the sect master of Xuanji sect. I hope Master Chen will guide me in the future." Hong Xianlei didn't care if he couldn't remember his name. Now, it was enough for Master Chen to remember him. "All right, Hong Xianlei of the Xuanji sect, I'll remember you. Tomorrow, you'll come with me to take a look at this clown who dares to impersonate the Five Elements sect." After Master Qin finished speaking, he indicated that Hong Xianlei could take his leave. Quack! At this moment, Hong Xianlei's heart was filled with tears. He had successfully made Master Qin remember him, but he suddenly wished that Master Qin hadn't remembered him. Hong Xianlei didn't want to accompany Master Qin to cause trouble for the Blue Cloud sect. It was best to let the Five Elemental sect handle this matter themselves. If Hong Xianlei went with Master Qin, the Five Elemental sect might find out that he had instigated trouble. However, since Master Chen had spoken, Hong Xianlei absolutely wouldn't dare to disobey. He had no choice but to accompany him tomorrow. All of a sudden, Hong Xianlei didn't know whether he should hope for the Blue Cloud sect to appear or not. The next day, Hong Xianlei was dragged out by the people of the Five Elements sect and followed Master Qin to the market. Hong Xianlei couldn't resist in the slightest. Soon, they arrived at the stall of the Five Elements sect. However, the stall was surrounded by many cultivators, so they couldn't see what was going on inside. Get out of the way, get out of the way. Master Chen from the Five Elements sect is here to sell medicine. The work of driving away the crowd was naturally done by Master Chen's followers. When the crowd heard that it was Master Chen from the Five Elements sect, they subconsciously made way for him. Originally, Master Chen did not intend to sell elixirs so early. Usually, the important people would appear last. However, now that there were people pretending to be from the Five Elements sect and snatching their stall, Master Chen naturally couldn't sit still. If he released the elixirs that he had prepared beforehand, he would definitely be able to win back the popularity of the crowd in an instant. Moreover, he would also be able to catch all the people pretending to be from the Five Elements sect in one fell swoop. Master Chen's plan was very good. As long as the elixirs appeared, everyone would revolve around him. At that time, he would humiliate the other party. Not only that, Master Chen could also announce on the spot that if anyone dared to vote for those people, the Five Elements sect would no longer sell elixirs to them. In this way, no one from that unknown sect would vote for them anymore. This idea was simply killing without leaving a trace. It was too awesome. Master Chen couldn't help but admire himself. How could he come up with such a brilliant idea? Under normal circumstances, the development of the situation would be exactly as Master Chen had predicted. This was the power of the Five Elements sect. Master Chen only dared to be so arrogant because he had the backing of the Five Elements sect. The problem was that what Master Chen was facing now was definitely not a normal situation. Seeing that the crowd had automatically made way for him, Master Chen held his head high and walked in as if he was looking at the road with his nostrils. At the same time, he said arrogantly, "Irrelevant people, get out of the way. I am going to sell elixirs. These elixirs were personally refined by me. To be able to obtain them, you must have walked on the luck of God knows how many lifetimes." If it was in the past, when Master Chen said this, there would definitely be people coming out to support him. However, today there was no response at all. In the past, it was not that the Five Elements sect did not sell elixirs. However, the quality and level of their elixirs were not satisfactory. How could they be better than the elixirs sold by the Blue Cloud sect? Today, Lin Yi had already announced the name of the Blue Cloud sect. With a good reputation from yesterday, the business was much better than yesterday. It's Master Chen from the Five Elements sect. He is also here to sell elixirs. Hurry up, since the Five Elements sect is here. The Blue Cloud sect will not be able to continue setting up their stall. Such good quality and not too expensive elixirs. If we don't buy them now, we might not have another chance. Those in front, please make way. Don't occupy the latrine without taking a shit. When the people in the periphery heard the name of the Five Elements sect, they all made way. However, the group of people in the innermost circle desperately wanted to complete the transaction as soon as possible. Yesterday, the reputation of the Blue Cloud sect's cheap and good quality elixirs had already spread far and wide. No one was stupid. They knew that now that the Five Elements sect was here, it was very likely that this would be the last chance to buy the elixirs of the Blue Cloud sect. Master Chen's face turned a little ugly. He was a dignified alchemy grandmaster of the Five Elements sect. Wherever he went, he would be sought after by people. However, he had never been ignored like this before. Irrelevant people, get out of the way. I am going to sell elixirs. These elixirs were personally refined by me. To be able to obtain them, you must have walked on the luck of God knows how many lifetimes. Master Chen repeated what he said just now. However, by doing so, he unavoidably weakened his imposing manner. The people in the periphery who made way for him now looked at him in a somewhat different way. When Han Xianlei saw that this wasn't a solution, he immediately gave Master Chen's lackeys a look. The two of them walked past Master Chen from the left and right, pushing the people in the innermost circle away with their hands. Get out of the way! Get out of the way! How dare you obstruct the Five Elements sect's business? Which sect or family are you from? Master Chen's lackeys roared loudly, truly frightening some of the people. Fishman's new book, School Bell CEO Relies on Me, is currently being serialized. I recommend everyone to read it. Please add Fishman's official QQ account, Fishman Second Generation, and WeChat account year in 22 for all kinds of latest news and latest news about Fishman. Chapter 5535. Get out of the way. Although the item is good, your life is more important. Don't bring trouble to your own sect. Someone on the side also tried to persuade the people inside in a low voice. It was unknown whether they were genuinely concerned about the people inside or because they couldn't buy the elixirs from the Blue Cloud sect, so they didn't want the people inside to buy them. In any case, with the help of his followers, Master Chin aggressively squeezed his way into the crowd inside. However, just as he was about to say a few words to show off his identity, he saw Lin Yi behind the stall with a playful expression. He was immediately dumbfounded. "Hey, isn't this Master Chen of the Five Element sect? I heard that you had already retired from alchemy. How come you're back in Jianghu?" Lin Yi looked at Master Chen with a smile that wasn't a smile and casually mocked him. Master Chen immediately felt so embarrassed that he wanted to die. In his heart, he cursed that bastard Hong Xianlei. Wasn't he King setting him up? It was actually Lin Yi here. He couldn't wait to avoid him, but this time he took the initiative to come to him. Was he courting death? Hearing Lin Yi's subtle mockery, Master Chin was incomparably embarrassed. However, he didn't dare to retort, for fear that Lin Yi would reveal what had happened last time. He could only snort and say, "This was refined by me in the past. Why can't it be?" "Oh, so it was refined by you in the past, Master Chin. I thought you would say that it was refined by your disciple, so the quality would be so poor." Lin Yi had a look of realization on his face as he continued to mock Master Chin mercilessly. Master Chen's face turned red. He really wanted to say that it was refined by his disciple, but before he came in he had already said that it was personally refined by Master Chin twice. He really didn't have the face to say that it was refined by his disciple. "Impudent! Who do you think you are? How dare you speak to Master Chin like that?" Hong Xianlei still didn't seem to have a good sense of judgment. In order to curry favor with Master Chin, he jumped out and pointed at Lin Yi as he roared. "Who doesn't know that Master Chen's products are of the highest quality? How can a small sect like yours compare? Hurry up and scram." Lin Yi didn't have much of a reaction, but Master Chin really wanted to slap this idiot who had been tricking his teammates for 30 years. "Can't you see that every one of Lin Yi's pills is of the highest quality?" Compared to Lin Yi, even Master Chin had to admit that the quality of his pills is trash. Glaring at Hong Xianlei fiercely, Master Chin turned his head and said in a muffled voice, "I forgot that I have an important matter to attend to today. I will take my leave first." Seeing that Master Chin turned around and left, Lin Yi just smiled faintly and said, "Remember to take your dog away, lest it barks randomly here." Hong Xuanlei's face darkened. So Lin Yi and Exinigia ignored him just now because they treated his words as a dog barking. Anyhow, he was the sect master of Xuanji sect. He absolutely couldn't tolerate this. "Go!" Master Chin shouted angrily without turning his head back. Hong Xianlei immediately lowered his head and glared at Exinigia and Lin Yi with resentment. Then he followed behind Master Chin and left the place. Seeing that the people of Five Elements sect had left, the surrounding audience immediately surrounded them again. Although they didn't understand what was going on, the most important thing was to buy the highest quality pills of Blue Cloud sect first. After walking for a distance, Hong Xianlei approached Master Chin and asked in a low voice, "Master Chin, what's going on? Why are you leaving just like that? Aren't you going to punish them for occupying our Five Elements sect stall?" Master Chin turned around and slapped Hong Xuanlei's face. He roared angrily, "You King tricked me, didn't you? You knew that they were selling pills at such a low price, yet you still urged me to set up a stall. Don't you know the rules of alchemy? In this case, since they set up a stall, I can't do it anymore. Hong Xianlei wanted to cry, but had no tears. Just as he moved his face closer to Master Chen, he was slapped in the face. Something was wrong. Facing Master Chen's anger, Hong Xianlei was also puzzled. He could only carefully say, "Master Chen, please calm down. I really didn't know about this rule. Moreover, I didn't see them setting up a stall yesterday." In fact, this so-called rule was simply nonsense. Master Chen didn't have the nerve to mention that the quality of Lin Yi and the others were all of the highest quality, and he couldn't compare to them. He also didn't have the nerve to say that he had suffered losses at the hands of Lin Yi. Thus, he could only make up some random excuse. It doesn't matter if you don't know or not. Master Chen indifferently glanced at Hong Xianlei and said coldly, "You can get lost now. Don't ever appear in front of me again. I don't want to see you again." These words were like a bolt from the blue. Hong Xianlei was immediately dumbfounded. Seeing that Master Chen had already turned around and left, Hong Xianlei hurriedly chased after him and begged, Master Chen, please calm down. I was just thinking for our 5-element sect. I saw that someone had occupied our 5-element sect stall, so I was anxious and didn't inquire about it clearly." "Enough! Who the F***CK is talking about us? Who do you think you are? How dare you talk about our 5-element sect?" Master Chen mercilessly shouted angrily and forcefully interrupted Hong Xianlei's words. "I'm not Master Chen's junior." Hong Xianlei wanted to explain, but his words were already somewhat incoherent. What Master Chen meant was to directly expel the Xuanji sect. It wasn't easy for him to find the 5-element sect as his backing. Hong Xianlei didn't want to be driven out just like that. Master Chen was infuriated when he thought about it. He conveniently slapped Hong Xianlei's face again. Then he didn't want to talk nonsense with him anymore. He swaggered off with his followers. Hong Xianlei really wanted to cry this time. Originally, he wanted to mess with the Blue Cloud sect and conveniently show off in front of the higher-ups of the 5-element sect. The result was completely different from what he had imagined. The script wasn't written like this. However, Hong Xianlei didn't dare to continue following Master Chen anymore. Before he understood the reason, following Master Chen would only be asking for trouble. Moreover, with Master Chen's status in the 5-element sect, his words were basically no different from the words of the sect master, especially when this matter was only related to the Xuanji sect. Hong Xianlei, who returned to the Xuanji sect alone, immediately gathered his trusted subordinates to discuss this matter. "Tell me, how should we deal with this matter of the 5-element sect?" An elder hesitated and said, "Sect master, there seems to be some secret between the 5-element sect's Master Chen and the Blue Cloud sect. The more our Xuanji sect interferes in this matter, the less benefits we will get. Moreover, since Master Chen has already said that he wants to expel our Xuanji sect, then in this time's immemorial grand meeting, we basically can't rely on the 5-element sect as our backing anymore." Chapter 5536. Another elder said, "Sect master, our Xuanji sect is aiming for the top 10. If we don't have a sect to rely on, we won't be able to enter the top 10. So, no matter what, we must find a sect to rely on. Since the 5-element sect can't do it anymore, let's find a new sect to rely on while we still have time." Hong Xianlei rubbed his forehead and said, "Who doesn't know the importance of a sect to rely on? But there are only 4 sects in total. Tell me, which sect should we look for? The Heaven and Earth sect is out of the question. We wanted to go to the Heaven and Earth sect from the beginning, but they didn't want to talk to us at all." The elder smiled bitterly and said, "Let's not talk about the 5-element sect. The Heaven Awakening sect, which is ranked 3rd, doesn't have any relationship with us, and they are the furthest away from us. Even if we want to rely on them, they might not be willing to accept us, especially since we have some conflicts with a sect under the Heaven Awakening sect." Why don't you just say that the Shangguan clan is the only one left? Hong Xianlei was in a bad mood. He was the one who took the Xuanji sect and left the Shangguan clan. Plus, he had just had a conflict with the Blue Cloud sect, so he couldn't bring himself to go back to the Shangguan clan. Sect Master, the only sect that can accept us is the Shangguan clan. It seems like the Shangguan clan has become a lot stronger recently, and they don't even give face to the Heaven and Earth sect. Going back to the Shangguan clan is a good choice. The elder was a reasonable person. At least, he had a clearer view of the situation than Hong Xianlei. Hong Xianlei nodded his head and said, "It's not impossible for us to return to the Shangguan clan. I think the Shangguan clan will welcome us with open arms. After all, they are the weakest among the 4 big clans, and they don't have many powerful sections. Our profound G sect still has a golden core cultivator and 2 peak late golden core cultivators. It will be a great help to the Shangguan clan." If Shangguan Qingyun heard this, he would definitely ask Hong Xianlei where he got his confidence from. In the archaic grand meeting, the decisive factor was always the nascent soul realm cultivators. A few golden core realm cultivators could only wave the flag and cheer. After discussing with his 2 trusted subordinates, Hong Xianlei finally decided to return to the Shangguan clan as soon as possible. If he waited for the news of the 5 Elements sect expelling the Profound Formula sect to spread, the Profound Formula sect status would drop even further. With the help of Lin Yi's nascent soul and golden core, Shangguan Qingyun had already broken through to the nascent soul great perfection in the past 2 days. He also had a complete mental cultivation technique to cultivate. Just when he was feeling complacent, he heard that the Profound Theory sect's sect master, Hong Xianlei, had come to visit, so he immediately met Hong Xianlei. After exchanging a few pleasantries, Hong Xianlei went straight to the point and said, "Shangguan clan leader, apart from paying a visit to clan leader, this junior is here to pay a visit to the Shangguan clan, so that our profound secret sect can return to the Shangguan clan." Oh, I'm naturally happy that Sect Master Hong has such an idea. However, I don't know why Sect Master Hong suddenly wants to return to the Shangguan clan, Shangguan Qingyun said with a smile. In his heart, he was wondering if the Profound Formula sect's return was the Blue Cloud sect's idea. Previously, Xianijia had sent a message to Shangguan Qingyun, asking him to inform the Soaring Heavens sect to advance and retreat together in the archaic meeting. Of course, to the outside world, it was still said that the Shangguan clan was the Soaring Heavens sect's backer. Now that the Profound Formula sect's Hong Xianlei was here, could it be for the same reason? If it was really someone from the Blue Cloud sect who asked Hong Xianlei to come, Shangguan Qingyun wouldn't neglect him. Because of this, Shangguan Qingyun was very polite and enthusiastic towards Hong Xianlei. Hong Xianlei let out a soft sigh and said with a melancholy expression, "Shangguan clan leader, to be honest, after our Profound Formula sect joined the 5 Elemental sect, we weren't welcomed by them at all. Furthermore, there are many sects and families under the 5 Elemental sect, and in terms of seniority, our Profound Formula sect is ranked at the bottom. Therefore, not only does the 5 Elemental sect not value us, even the other sects and families can order us around. Thinking about how the Shangguan clan took care of our Profound Formula sect in the past, compared to the 5 Elemental sect, it's like the difference between heaven and earth. This junior feels very uneasy, and I feel that returning to the Shangguan clan is the right way." Shangguan Qingyun was slightly startled. Although Hong Xianlei was very humble, if it was really the Blue Cloud sect who asked the Profound Formula sect to return, Hong Xianlei only needed to mention the Blue Cloud sect. Why would he bring up so many useless things? It's a good thing that sect leader Hong is able to return. Let's not talk about the past, and let's advance together in the future. Shangguan Qingyun didn't know what else to say, so he could only comfort him. Hong Xianlei was immediately overjoyed when he heard this. As he expected, the Shangguan clan was very happy for the Profound Formula sect's return. After all, the Shangguan clan still needed to strengthen themselves. Shangguan clan leader is truly a wise and far-sighted representative. Under your wise leadership, our Shangguan clan will definitely rise to the next level in this archaic grand meeting. Hong Xianlei smiled, his eyes squinted, and words of flattery came out of his mouth. Not at all, not at all. Sect leader Hong is too polite. Shangguan Qingyun quickly waved his hand. He was very clear about his own capabilities. Perhaps the Shangguan clan could really rise to the next level in this archaic grand meeting. But it definitely wouldn't be because of Shangguan Qingyun. Just when Shangguan Qingyun was about to compliment Lin Yi so that Hong Xianlei, who had been pulled back by the Blue Cloud sect, could put in a good word for him, Hong Xianlei suddenly changed the topic. Family leader, you might not know this, but this time Exinigia from the Blue Cloud sect secretly came to look for me. He wanted me to return to the profound formula sect. This is outrageous. Hong Xianlei slightly lowered his voice, and his expression showed that he was feeling indignant for Shangguan Qingyun. Shangguan Qingyun was stunned, and he didn't know what to say. He thought to himself, if your profound formula sect wasn't pulled back by the Blue Cloud sect, I wouldn't even care about a traitor like you. Of course, Hong Xianlei didn't know what Shangguan Qingyun was thinking, and he continued to make things difficult for the Blue Cloud sect. Family leader, who do you think Exinigia is? He actually dared to bypass our Shangguan clan and secretly tried to rope me in. What a joke. This junior has always been loyal to the family leader, so how could I be influenced by such a small character? This junior's decision to return to the profound formula sect was made after careful consideration. Shangguan Qingyun's expression turned cold. He casually picked up the teacup and took a sip, then asked indifferently, "What is sect leader Hong's decision?" Hong Xianlei thought that Shangguan Qingyun's expression turned ugly because he was dissatisfied with the Blue Cloud sect. He was even more delighted in his heart. Chapter 5537. Thus, Hong Xianlei continued to stir up trouble. Patriarch, you might not know this yet, but the Azure Cloud sect has been occupying the Five Elements sect stall for the past 2 days. Today, they've already been caught red-handed by the Five Elements sect. Needless to say, the Five Elements sect will definitely hold the Azure Cloud sect accountable. Our Shangguan family can't be the scapegoat for the Blue Cloud sect. Let's take this opportunity to expel the Blue Cloud sect to avoid any trouble. What do you think, family head? Shangguan Qingyun said expressionlessly, I think Sect Master Hong can go back now. I won't send you off. Hong Xianlei was dumbfounded. Weren't they having a good conversation just now? Why did they suddenly turn hostile? Looking at the teacup in Shangguan Qingyun's hand, he knew that Shangguan Qingyun was sending him off. Family head, this junior is thinking for our Shangguan family. Hong Xianlei felt that something was wrong, so he quickly tried to salvage the situation. Shangguan Qingyun snorted and interrupted him. The Shangguan family is the Shangguan family, and the Xuanji sect is the Xuanji sect. Sect Master Hong, please don't say anything about our Shangguan family. We aren't that close. Why did these words sound so familiar? Although they weren't exactly the same, the meanings seemed to be the same. Hong Xianlei was a little anxious, so he quickly stood up and said, Family head, did this junior say something wrong? Please tell me. Hong Xianlei was completely confused. From Shangguan Qingyun's tone, he seemed to have accepted the Xuanji sect, but now it seemed like he was rejecting it. What did this mean? You didn't say anything wrong. I was being too tactful. Shangguan Qingyun paused for a moment, then looked at Hong Xianlei and shouted, Get lost! Do you understand now? Hong Xianlei was immediately embarrassed. He understood that Shangguan Qingyun really didn't want to see him anymore. Although he didn't understand what was going on, he could only leave with his tail between his legs. Who do you think you are? You're just one of the 4 weakest clans. Why are you acting so arrogant? You've offended both the Cosmos sect and the 5 Element sect. Just wait for your sect to be annihilated. I, your daddy, lowered my status to join your sect. but you still dare to treat me like this. In the future, even if you all kneel down and beg me, I won't go back." Upon leaving the Shangguan clan's gate, Hong Xianlei immediately started cursing in a low voice. His voice was only loud enough for himself to hear. If anyone from the Shangguan clan heard it, the Xuanji sect would be in big trouble. Hong Xuanlei's followers were waiting outside, so they didn't know what was going on. They couldn't hear Hong Xuanlei's mutterings, but it was obvious that the Xuanji sect had failed. "Sect master, it's fine if the Shangguan clan doesn't want to accept us. After all, they're the weakest of the 4 great clans. Let's just try the Universe sect." The follower took half a step forward and whispered to Hong Xianlei. Hong Xianlei sighed and said, "I also want to join the Qinkuan sect, but they didn't even pay attention to us before. Will it make any difference if we go now?" "Master, did you forget that when we were still in the 5 Element sect, you were friends with a senior disciple who was in charge of the Qinkuan sect? Although you were using the name of the 5 Element sect, you were the one who established the relationship with them. Why don't you go and try?" The follower had been following Hong Xianlei for a long time, so he knew who Hong Xianlei had been in contact with, so he immediately reminded him. Hong Xuanlei's eyes lit up. "That makes sense. If we go alone, the Qinkuan sect might not pay attention to us. But if we have someone we know to introduce us to, then it'll be completely different." "Well done. If we succeed, I'll remember your merit." After finding a new way out, Hong Xianlei immediately changed his direction. He went to the Qinkuan sect to look for the manager he was familiar with. However, when the manager heard that Hong Xianlei wanted to join the Qinkuan sect, he immediately rejected him. Even fair-weather friends were considered friends. If it was some trivial matter, then it was fine. But if they accepted the traitor of the Shangguan clan, the Xuanji sect, wasn't that just asking for trouble? What if they attracted Lin Yi's revenge? After Jin Hua suffered a loss at the hands of Shangguan Lian, the Qinkuan sect had already warned all of their disciples that they were forbidden from interfering with anything related to the Shangguan clan or the Blue Cloud sect. Those who violated the rules would be punished severely. How could this be? How could this be? Hong Xianlei muttered to himself in a daze as he walked. 3 of the 4 great sects had already clearly rejected the profound secret sects offer to join them, so the only choice left was the Heaven Enlightenment faction. Although Hong Xianlei didn't have many acquaintances in the Awakening Heaven faction, and he even had some conflicts with a small sect under the Awakening Heaven faction, he had no other choice but to send a letter to the Awakening Heaven faction. However, he was rejected without a doubt. The Awakening Heaven faction didn't need a sect like the Xuanji sect, which was like a burden. What's the problem? It's impossible that none of the 4 great sects and families want our Xuanji sect. In terms of strength, our Xuanji sect is much stronger than most of the sects and families that aren't part of the 4 big and 10 small sects and families. Hong Xianlei was extremely depressed. If he knew this would happen, he would have just stayed in the North Island Alliance peacefully. "Sect Master, don't you still have a spy in your hands? Perhaps it's not a spy from the Blue Cloud sect, but a spy from the Shangguan clan. That's why the Shangguan clan rejected our profound G-sects offer to join them." Hong Xuanlei's follower could be considered as doing his best. When Hong Xianlei was at a loss of what to do, Hong Xianlei was able to come up with some ideas. "That's right. If you didn't mention it, I would have almost forgotten about it." Hong Xianlei clapped his hands, and an excited expression appeared on his face. "Let's go back quickly. It doesn't matter if this guy is a spy from the Azure Clouds faction or the Shangguan clan, we can only try to save a dead horse. If we rely on this spy to mediate between us, we might still have a chance." Hong Xianlei was in despair, but it seemed like there was a chance to turn things around. He immediately sped up and returned to the Xuanji sect, bringing out the disciple who had been locked up. "Li Yunjia, I don't care if you're a spy from the Shangguan clan or the Azure Clouds faction. From now on, as long as you can complete the mission I've given you, I'll let bygones be bygones." Hong Xianlei sat on a chair, pretending to be amiable as he spoke to the innocent disciple, Li Yunjia. Li Yunjia was still confused. He had only come back to report some information. How did he end up being locked up like a spy? What was going on? Sect master, disciple isn't a spy. Disciple's heart is only for the Xuanji sect. Li Yunjia tried to defend himself. Hong Xianlei raised his hand and made a gesture, then said, Fine. I believe you're not a spy. How about this? I have something that fits your original mission. I'm sure you'll be happy to hear it. Chapter 5538. Li Yunjia wanted to explain, but he was interrupted again. Now that the Xuanji sect is preparing to return to the North Island Alliance, I need you to contact the Shangguan clan and the Blue Cloud sect. After all, we had some misunderstandings before, and it's not convenient for me to show myself. As long as you can repair the relationship between the Xuanji sect and the two clans, and help the Xuanji sect return to the North Island Alliance, it'll be a great achievement for you, Li Yunjia said in a muffled tone. For the sake of the sect, disciple will go through fire and water without hesitation. But sect master, this has nothing to do with disciple's original mission. No, disciple didn't have any mission at all. Hong Xianlei sneered in his heart. You've already spilled the beans, and you're still trying to deny it? But I still need you, the spy, to help me, so I'll let you go for now. Ha. Fine. Whatever you say, it's all up to you now. Don't disappoint me. You can go now. Hong Xianlei let out a carefree laugh, then sent Li Yunjia away. Li Yunjia walked out of the Xuanji sect's encampment in a daze, then walked towards the Blue Cloud sect with a sad face. He wasn't a spy. He didn't know anyone from the Blue Cloud sect, let alone the Shangguan clan. Although the Blue Cloud sect status was slightly higher than the Xuanji sects, they were both from the North Island Alliance, so they should be easier to talk to than the Shangguan clan. Therefore, Li Yunjia subconsciously walked towards the Blue Cloud sect. The disciple guarding the entrance of the Jadian encampment saw Li Yunjia dressed in Xuanji sect's uniform. Without waiting for him to come near, he shouted, Halt! This is already Jadian encampment. Unauthorized personnel are not allowed to come near. Li Yunjia quickly smiled apologetically and said, Fellow disciples, I'm a disciple of the Xuanji sect, and I'd like to see Sect Master Xan Ijia. Can you help me inform him of my arrival? Sect Master Xan isn't here. Please come back tomorrow. The disciple still didn't allow Li Yunjia to come closer, so he sent him away. Li Yunjia tried his best to persuade Qingyun sect, but the disciples guarding Qingyun sect only said that Xan Ijia was not back yet and asked Li Yunjia to leave immediately. Li Yunjia had no choice but to leave Qingyun sect's encampment. Looks like sect leader Xan really didn't come back. There's no need for these Blue Cloud sect senior brothers to lie to me. I'd better find something to eat first and wait for sect leader Xan to come back. Li Yunjia rubbed his stomach and muttered softly. After being locked up as a spy for the past few days, no one had come to deliver food to Li Yunjia. At this moment, Li Yunjia was really starving. If it wasn't for his sect's mission, he would have gone to find something to eat when he came out. Li Yunjia quickly arrived at an inn's dining hall. He picked an empty seat at the entrance and sat down. He casually ordered some food that could be served immediately and started wolfing down the food. At the same time, he had to pay attention to see if Xan Ijia would pass by the entrance. Have you heard? The Xuanji sect was expelled by the 5 Elemental sect. What a shame! I've never seen anyone being expelled by a sect that relied on their sect before the archaic grand meeting. I wonder how the Xuanji sect offended the 5 Elemental sect. A few cultivators who were sitting 2 tables away from Li Yunjia were chatting with each other. Li Yunjia was startled by their conversation. Is that so? I heard that the Xuanji sect wants to return to the Shangguan clan. It's because they were expelled by the 5 Elemental sect. What a shame! If I was the Shangguan clan's clan chief, I would never accept a traitor like this. He went to the 5 Elemental sect for the sake of his reputation. but now that he's down on his luck, he wants to return to the Shangguan clan. You're right. The Shangguan clan's clan chief didn't accept the Xuanji sect. And guess what happened next? The Xuanji sect actually wanted to join the Cosmos sect, but they were directly expelled. That's not all. I heard that the Xuanji sect wanted to join the Enlightening Heaven faction, but the Enlightening Heaven faction didn't want to bother with them at all. Now, the Xuanji sect is just a joke in the underworld of the immemorial ancient era. The few cultivators sitting at the table were chatting with each other, and their voices weren't low. Not only Li Yunjia could hear them, everyone in the hall could hear them. Li Yunjia was struck dumb. His mouth that was filled with food was wide open, and the food that he didn't swallow fell out from his mouth. The Xuanji sect was already in such a miserable state. It had only been a few days, but how did my sect end up like this? No wonder Sect Chief Hong asked me to repair my relationship with the Shangguan clan and Blue Cloud sect. Li Yunjia really wanted the best for the Xuanji sect. After learning about the Xuanji sect's predicament, he was determined to complete the mission. No matter what, Li Yunjia was still a senior disciple in charge of the Xuanji sect, and although he was nothing in front of Hong Xianlei, the fact that he was chosen to participate in the immemorial grand meeting already proved how outstanding he was. No, I don't have the time to sit here and eat. I need to find Sect Chief Xin as soon as possible, or else the Xuanji sect situation will only get worse. Li Yunjia spat out the food in his mouth and muttered to himself. After that, he quickly stood up and walked out of the hall. Ruined Town wasn't that big anyway. It wouldn't take too much time to run around. Right after leaving the hall, Li Yunjia was pleasantly surprised to see Xin, the Blue Cloud sect chief, and Jin Weifeng were accompanying Lin Yi towards him. Li Yunjia wouldn't miss such a good opportunity. While Xin and Lin Yi were chatting casually, someone suddenly rushed towards them and knelt down. Xin was shocked. Lin Yi had long since noticed that Li Yunjia was acting a little strange. However, Li Yunjia didn't have any hostility towards him, and his cultivation level was only at the Foundation Establishment Great Circle, so Lin Yi didn't pay any attention to Li Yunjia's actions. It was only until Li Yunjia knelt down in front of him that Lin Yi gave him an indifferent glance, then turned his gaze away. Obviously, he didn't want to talk. Xin let out a dry cough. Since Grandmaster Xin didn't want to talk, then he had to do it himself. Who are you? What are you trying to do? Li Yunjia knelt on the ground and cried, Sect Chief Xin, I'm a disciple in charge of the Xuanji sect. I heard that our Xuanji sect is in a difficult situation right now, so I hope Sect Chief Xin can put in a good word for us for the sake of the North Island Alliance, so that the Shangguan clan can accept our Xuanji sect again. Xin looked troubled. He was very angry at Hong Xianlei, but his heart softened when he heard that the North Island Alliance was of the same lineage. At the end of the day, Xin was still a kind-hearted old man. Jin Weifeng sneered when he saw that his master wasn't saying anything. Now you're talking about the North Island Alliance? What were you doing before? It's not like my master didn't go to Hong Xianlei, but what did Hong Xianlei say? Since Hong Xianlei is so capable, let him find a way to deal with it himself. Chapter 5539. After reaching the nascent soul stage, Jin Weifeng had become a real senior in Green Cloud sect, so he knew a lot of things, such as the whole process of Xin looking for Hong Xianlei. Because of this, Jin Weifeng hated Xuanji sect so much. Xin was Jin Weifeng's teacher. Who was Hong Xianlei? Li Yunjia burst into tears. Senior, I'm just a disciple of Xuanji sect. I can't interfere with what sect leader Hong does, but I just want Xuanji sect to get through this, that's all. Lin Yi felt that this guy looked a little like Xin when he first met him. Seeing that Xin was looking at him, his heart softened. He waved his hand and said, Let's bring him back first. Don't cry here. Aren't you afraid of being laughed at? Those who don't know might think that we're ganging up on him. In fact, Lin Yi was not afraid of being laughed at. It was just that it was inconvenient to talk on the street, so he gestured for Exanigia to bring Li Yunjia back to Green Cloud Sec's base. After returning to Green Cloud Sec's base, Li Yunjia was still kneeling on the ground and refused to get up. Lin Yi and the rest could only let him be. "Tell me what's going on." Exanigia had an idea of what was going on, but he didn't dare to make the decision himself. He could only let Li Yunjia continue to complain, and maybe Lin Yi would agree to the return of Xuanji sect. Li Yunjia also understood that Hong Xianlei must have severely offended the Blue Cloud sect, so he decided not to mention Hong Xianlei at all. He continued to talk about the profound secret sect, hoping that the Blue Cloud sect would help the profound secret sect out of consideration for the North Island Alliance. After hearing that, Lin Yi only sneered and said, "Hong Xianlei really knows how to put on airs. He didn't even show his face and only sent a disciple in charge. Did he think that he could write off everything? It's not like that, Martial Uncle Lin. Sect leader Hong had some misunderstandings before, so he was too embarrassed to come here directly. In addition, this junior was mistaken as a spy sent by Jadian sect, so that it would be easier to communicate with Jadian sect. So I was sent to Jadian sect to lobby." Once the words left his mouth, Li Yunjia suddenly felt that he had said the wrong thing. What was the point of mentioning a spy? Wasn't this making Xuanji sect lose face? Sure enough, Lin Yi asked with a strange expression, "You are a spy from Qingyan sect? What did you say? Yijie, you sent him over?" No. This disciple has never had the habit of sending spies into my brother's sect." Xian Yijie quickly waved his hand to deny it. Xian Yijie himself was confused when he heard Li Yunjia talking about a spy. Li Yunjia had no choice but to tell him about how he had seen Jinhua suffer a loss, how he had reported it to Hong Xianlei, and how Hong Xianlei had mistaken him as a spy and locked him up for a few days. After hearing that, Lin Yi was speechless and said, "It's indeed Hong Xianlei's style. This is the typical symptom of eating too many retarded pills. You are quite imaginative. Spy. Haha." Li Yunjia also had an awkward expression. He smiled awkwardly and said, No. It's a critical period now. It's normal for sect leader Hong to be more vigilant and suspicious. Martial Uncle Lin, please don't be offended. There's nothing to be offended about. This matter has nothing to do with you." It was rare for Lin Yi to have a pleasant expression again. The more he looked at this Li Yunjia, the more he looked like Xian Yijie in the past. They were both passionate for the sect, but were suppressed mercilessly. Hong Xianlei did not know how to cherish such a good disciple. It could only be said that Hong Xianlei was a little too foolish. After thinking for a while, Lin Yi suddenly said, "Go back and tell Hong Xianlei that it's not impossible for the Xuanji sect to return to the North Island Alliance, but there's a condition. Hong Xianlei must abdicate. He is not suitable to be the sect leader. Under his leadership, the Xuanji sect will be finished sooner or later. It's better for someone like you to be the sect leader. Let's put it this way. Hong Xianlei will abdicate, and you will be the sect leader. Then the Xuanji sect can return." Li Yunjia was shocked. He quickly straightened his back and waved his hands. "Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Martial Uncle, I am only a foundation establishment, great perfection disciple. How can I be the sect leader? Please reconsider, Martial Uncle." Lin Yi smiled faintly and said, "You are a person who wholeheartedly works for the Xuanji sect. If you don't become the sect leader, the Xuanji sect can only wait to die. All right, send the guest out." Li Yunjia still wanted to say something, but Jin Weifeng had already pulled him up and sent him out. He could only salute with a frown and go back worriedly. After Li Yunjia left, Exenija said worriedly, "Martial Uncle, if you let this little guy go back and say this, Hong Xianlei might kill him on the spot." "Don't worry, Hong Xianlei won't dare to." Lin Yi, on the other hand, looked very confident. He smiled and said, "If Hong Xianlei dares to kill Li Yunjia, then he will really have no way out. Didn't you hear the rumors that the 4 major sects and families have all rejected the Xuanji sect? At this time, other than the North Island Alliance, Hong Xianlei has no other choice. Under such circumstances, do you think Hong Xianlei will still make a move on Liunjia? Xianijia came to a sudden realization. He smiled and praised, "Martial uncle, you're really thoughtful. It's Li Yunjia's fortune to meet martial uncle." At this moment, Li Yunjia did not think that he had any fortune. After getting Lin Yi's reply, Li Yunjia was thinking about how to tactfully express it to Hong Xianlei. It was not that Li Yunjia was worried about himself, but he was afraid that Hong Xianlei would completely destroy the last hope of the Xuanji sect if he was too agitated. After returning to the Xuanji sect, Hong Xianlei asked impatiently, "How was it? How did the discussion with the people from the Blue Cloud sect go?" Li Yunjia had a wry smile on his face. It looked like he would never be able to get rid of the name of being a spy. Hong Xianlei didn't even ask if Li Yunjia was talking to the Shangguan clan or the Azure Cloud sect. He just asked about the conversation with the Azure Cloud sect. Clearly, he had sent someone to follow Li Yunjia. "Sect Master, I met with the Blue Cloud sect's Sect Master, Xianijia, and Martial Uncle Linny. They said that we can accept the Xuanji sect again, but..." Li Yunjia pretended that he did not hear the loophole in Hong Xianlei's words, and spoke normally. "But what?" Hong Xianlei was delighted. As long as the Blue Cloud sect agreed to let the Xuanji sect return to the North Island Alliance, it should not be a big problem for them to rely on the Shangguan clan. Although he was not sure what was going on, there seemed to be an unusual relationship between the Shangguan clan and the Blue Cloud sect. Chapter 5540. But what? Hurry up and tell me. Hong Xianlei was anxious, and he immediately raised his voice. "This damned spy! How dare he keep me in suspense at a time like this?" Li Yunjia made up his mind and closed his eyes. "It's just that Grandmaster Lin Yi said that you're no longer suitable to be the Xuanji sect's sect leader. If you want to return to the North Island Alliance, you'll have to step down immediately and let me have the position of sect leader?" "What?" Hong Xianlei was furious. He raised his palm high and was about to slap this damned spy to death. Li Yunjia immediately knelt on the ground and shouted, "Sect leader, this disciple was only passing on Grandmaster Lin Yi's words. This really wasn't my intention, be it in terms of strength or experience. I don't even have the qualifications to be an elder in waiting. How could I covet the position of sect leader? This really is the Xuanji sect's last chance. I know it's disgraceful, but for the Xuanji sect, this disciple will pass on the message even if it means death." Hong Xianlei's face was livid, but his raised palm did not fall. Li Yunjia's life or death wasn't important, but what he said was true. This was the Xuanji sect's last chance. If they really killed Li Yunjia, it would mean breaking off all relations with the Azure Sky sect. The Xuanji sect would really be at the end of their rope. "You traitor! This seat isn't that stupid to believe this kind of nonsense of yours." After pondering for a while, Hong Xianlei put down his palm and snorted coldly. "You're definitely trying to seek benefits for yourself by acting as a middleman, right? Become the sect leader? Even if you're a spy, the Azure Sky sect wouldn't be so crazy as to push a foundation, establishment, perfected disciple like you out, right?" Li Yunjia hurriedly said, "Sect leader, this disciple was really just passing on Grandmaster Lin Yi's words. I didn't embellish it at all. Please understand, sect leader." "Say no more. I'll get to the bottom of this personally." Hong Xianlei waved his sleeves coldly and said in a low voice, "Men, take Li Yunjia away and continue to lock him up." "Sect master." Li Yunjia wanted to continue arguing, but he had already been dragged out by the disciples who came in quickly. At this time, Li Yunjia only wanted to say that he should have eaten his fill first. Hong Xianlei paced back and forth a couple of steps to sort out his thoughts. Then he walked out of the door and headed for the Azure Cloud sect's encampment. This time, the guarding disciples of the Blue Cloud sect did not stop them. They immediately brought Hong Xianlei in after hearing that he was here to look for Xianijia. They must have received instructions from Xianijia. In the living room, Lin Yi and the other two were all there. Hong Xianlei could not help but feel a little awkward when he saw Xianijia. He casually cupped his hands as a form of greeting and went straight to the point. Sect leader Xian, I heard that your Azure Cloud sect wants our Xuanji sect to return to the North Island Alliance? That's right. After all, the three major sects of the North Island are a family. Since it's a win-win situation, we should settle it as soon as possible. All right, it's settled. Lin Yi glanced at Hong Xianlei coldly. He was not going to pay attention to him at all. This guy must have eaten too many moronic pills. He made it seem like the Azure Cloud sect was begging Xuanji sect to return. Was he really all right with his brain? Xianijia was a little annoyed. How nice was Li Yunjia's attitude before? That was how the three major sects of the North Island should behave when they were united. What was wrong with Hong Xianlei? Jin Weifeng was a young man after all. He was a little annoyed at once. What do you mean it's settled? Who are you? Do you have the right to speak here? Get out of here. Hong Xianlei also felt that he had gone too far. However, after he saw Xianijia, he forgot all the words he had thought of previously. Those words came out of his mouth without any thought. It was too late to regret now. Even if he wanted to change his words, he could not bring himself to do so. Weifeng, be polite to the sect leader. Send him out properly. Xianijia did not want to talk nonsense with Hong Xianlei. He picked up his teacup and said calmly. Hong Xianlei's face turned green and red. Serve tea to send the guest off again? Can't you be a little more creative? Can't you serve tea to keep the guest? Since Xianijia had said so, it was impossible for Hong Xianlei to stay. However, the Blue Cloud sect was Xuanji sect's last chance of survival. Hong Xianlei did not dare to give up just like that. Therefore, he was in a dilemma. He did not know what to do. Right at this moment, another disciple came in and reported, Great Martial Uncle, Sect Master Xan, Sect Elder Jean, the Shangguan Clan Supreme Elder and Clan Chief have come to visit Great Martial Uncle. Can you bring them here? Hong Xianlei was shocked. The Shangguan Clan's Supreme Elder and Family Leader. Someone actually came to report to them? Shouldn't they just open the door and let everyone go to the door to welcome them? Lin Yi waved his hand casually and said, Bring them in. The disciple replied, then he quickly ran out. After being interrupted by the disciple, no one paid any attention to Hong Xianlei. He didn't want to miss the chance to meet the Shangguan Clan's Supreme Elder, so he just stood there quietly. After a short while, Shangguan Feixing and Shangguan Qingyin arrived together. As soon as they entered the door, Hong Xianlei rushed out and greeted them. Junior Hong Xianlei of Xuanji sect greets the Supreme Elder and Family Leader of Shangguan. Shangguan Feixing did not know Hong Xianlei at first. Therefore, when Hong Xianlei came out to greet them, he wanted to help him. After all, he was from the Blue Cloud sect. Shangguan Feixing did not dare to put on airs in front of them. However, after hearing Hong Xianlei's name from Xuanji sect, he immediately ignored Hong Xianlei and walked over. Shangguan Qingyin followed suit, completely treating Hong Xianlei as heir. Martial granduncle. This junior has taken the liberty to come here to ask some questions. I'm really sorry to disturb your peaceful cultivation. After Shangguan Feixing walked past Hong Xianlei, he immediately put on a smiling face and bowed respectfully to Lin Yi. Lin Yi waved his hand lightly and said, You are too polite. Just tell me if you have any questions. Actually, Lin Yi did not need Shangguan Feixing to say it. Lin Yi must have completed the mental cultivation technique. Shangguan Feixing and the others were a little confused. Otherwise, Shangguan Feixing would not have come to look for Lin Yi directly. Granduncle, there are some miscellaneous people. Can we clear them out first? Shangguan Feixing knew that Hong Xianlei did not get along with the Blue Cloud sect. Naturally, he would not show any mercy. Moreover, the Xuanji sect was a sect that had betrayed the Shangguan clan. It would be strange if Shangguan Feixing would treat him nicely. Chapter 5541. Genius 1, 2nd, remember love, go away? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. There's definitely something wrong with this. What exactly went wrong? Hong Xianlei didn't dare to offend Shangguan Feixing. Although he didn't understand, he could only smile and leave dejectedly. After leaving the Azure Cloud sect, Hong Xianlei felt that something was wrong. He disguised himself in a corner and walked toward the lobby of an inn. There was no better place than this to gather information. This time, Hong Xianlei was smart for once. He pretended to be a nobody, which made it much easier for him to gather information. Under his intentional guidance, many cultivators who made a living would bring out the information they knew as a topic of conversation. The more information he gathered, the more frightened Hong Xianlei became. The Qiankuan sect suffered a loss at the hands of the Shangguan clan. The Shangguan clan wasn't afraid of the Qiankuan sect. The Azure Cloud sect forcefully occupied the Five Elements sect stall, and the Shangguan clan was behind it? Hong Xianlei knew some of it, but he didn't know some of it. However, there was one thing he was sure of. The Shangguan clan was no longer the weakest of the four great clans. The Shangguan clan would most likely rise in the immemorial grand meeting this time. The only thing Hong Xianlei was concerned about was why the supreme elder and family master of the Shangguan clan were so polite and respectful to Lin Yi. Could it be that Lin Yi was really the grand martial uncle of the Azure Cloud sect? I think I was wrong. I felt that something was wrong. The Shangguan clan changed their attitude toward the Xuanji sect because of the Azure Cloud sect, right? Hong Xianlei murmured to himself. He realized that Shangguan Qingyan had a falling out with him because Hong Xianlei had said bad things about the Azure Cloud sect and wanted the Shangguan clan to kick the Azure Cloud sect out of the sect. The Azure Cloud sect was the key to returning to the sect. Hong Xianlei returned to the profound secret sect in a daze. The news that he had just obtained had completely overturned Hong Xianlei's views. Although Hong Xianlei was a little obstinate and self-opinionated, it was undeniable that he still hoped that the profound secret sect could rise to prominence. Otherwise, there would be no need for him to run around and rely on others all day long. He could just focus on being the sect master of the profound secret sect. Bring Li Yunjia here. Hong Xianlei sat on a chair and waved his hand at his follower listlessly. For the sake of the profound secret sect, it seemed like he had no choice but to agree to Lin Yi's conditions. Li Yunjia came over very quickly. Hong Xianlei said solemnly, "There's no need for those useless formalities. I won't say anything unnecessary. For the sake of the profound secret sect, I can agree to the Blue Cloud sect's conditions and give you the position of sect master. Now, you can come with me to the Blue Cloud sect." Sect master? Li Yunjia was stunned for a moment. He hurriedly opened his mouth to refuse, but Hong Xianlei waved his hand to stop him from saying anything and walked out first. This kind of important matter should have been discussed to the other elders, but Hong Xianlei's heart was filled with a sense of urgency, so he could only drag Li Yunjia to the Azure Cloud sect first. Moreover, Hong Xianlei had always been a man of his word in the profound secret sect. Li Yunjia didn't know what had happened. He had only been locked up for a short while, so why did Hong Xianlei's attitude take a 180-degree turn? However, Hong Xianlei didn't say anything, so Li Yunjia didn't dare to ask. He could only quickly follow Hong Xianlei to the Azure Cloud sect. At this moment, Shangguan Feixing and Shangguan Qingyan had just finished consulting Hong Xianlei on their mental cultivation techniques, so there was no need to hide from him. After Hong Xianlei brought Li Yunjia in, he didn't dare to act rashly. He greeted each and every one of them respectfully, then said carefully, "Seniors, the profound secret sect would like to return to the North Island Alliance and rely on the Shangguan clan again. I wonder if you can accept the profound secret sect?" Lin Yi said indifferently, You know the conditions, right? Are there any problems? Hong Xianlei secretly clenched his teeth, but said without any hesitation, I can abdicate my position and let Li Yunjia take over as the sect master of the profound secret sect. Then, I will take on the position of the profound secret sect's supreme elder. What do you think, Marshal Granduncle Lin? When the profound secret sect was still one of the 10 minor sects, they had a nascent soul supreme elder. However, after the supreme elder died in an accident, the profound secret sect fell out of the 10 minor sects, and the position of supreme elder had always been vacant. Hong Xianlei didn't think it would be a bad thing if he became the supreme elder. Lin Yi sneered. You want to become the supreme elder? Then continue to criticize us behind our backs? What's the point of that? Marshal Granduncle Lin, then what do you think we should do? Hong Xuanlei's attitude was rather humble, and he looked very sincere. Lin Yi thought for a moment, then said indifferently, How about this? You're the strongest person in the profound secrets sect right now. So be it, Supreme Elder. However, it's just an honorary Supreme Elder. Even though your status is high, you can't interfere with the profound secret sect's matters. No problem. Hong Xianlei nodded in agreement. As long as the profound secret sect can return to the North Island Alliance, I'm willing to become an ordinary disciple of the profound secret sect, let alone an honorable status like the honorary supreme elder. What he said was true. Hong Xianlei was already prepared to be pushed to the bottom when he came. He only proposed to become the supreme elder as a last resort. He never thought that he would succeed. Being an honorary supreme elder was more than enough for him now. Exionegia had always wanted the profound secrets sect to return so that the 3 major sects of the North Island could reunite. Now that his wish had finally been fulfilled, he had a gratified expression on his face. Lin Yi looked at Exionegia and smirked. He then said, If that's the case, let's see if there are any extra spots in the 10 minor sects in the archaic meeting this time. If there are, we'll let the profound secret sect return to the 10 minor sects. If there aren't, we'll talk about it next time. Even if there are, don't think about rising to the top in a single step. I'm guessing you'll only get the last spot in the 10 minor sects. Thank you, Grandmaster Lin. Hong Xianlei was overjoyed when he heard that. Regardless of whether Lin Yi really had the ability or not, at least the profound secret sect could be stabilized for the time being. Hong Xianlei turned around and saw that Li Yunjia was still in a daze. He immediately tugged on his sleeve and reminded him in a low voice, Hurry up and thank Grandmaster Lin. Hong Xianlei no longer felt any hatred or jealousy toward this guy who had stolen his position as the sect leader. Instead, he was rather grateful. If the profound secret sect could return to the 10 minor sects, all grudges and grudges would no longer matter. Li Yunjia felt like he had just woken up from a dream. He quickly bowed to thank Lin Yi. Of course, Exionegia was also there. He dared not neglect either of the 2 big shots of the Shangguan clan. Chapter 5542. Genius 1. Second, remember love? Go, Small, to provide you with exciting novels to read. Hong Xianlei was greatly shocked. He thought he had taken the relationship between the Azure Cloud sect and the Shangguan clan very seriously, but now he realized that he had underestimated it. However, was it possible for the Azure Cloud sect to replace the Qingquan sect? Shangguan Qingyin saw Hong Xuanlei's confused expression, so he said with a smile, You might not know this, but apart from the early nascent soul realm cultivator, the son of the Qingquan sect leader, who was killed by Marshal Granduncle Lin, a late nascent soul realm cultivator and a mid-nascent soul realm cultivator who came to our Shangguan clan to cause trouble, were also killed by Marshal Granduncle Lin. In terms of strength, the Qingquan sect might not even be stronger than our Shangguan clan, let alone the Azure Cloud sect with Marshal Granduncle Lin. Marshal Granduncle Lin is that powerful. Hong Xuanlei's expression changed drastically. Only now did he realize how stupid his previous actions were. If Xi and Ijia had returned to the North Island Alliance right away, the Xuanji sect's status would be completely different now. Fortunately, after all the twists and turns, the Xuanji sect had finally returned. Although Hong Xuanlei's status had plummeted, as long as the Xuanji sect could rise again, Hong Xuanlei's status as the honorary supreme elder would naturally rise as well. Lin Yi said with a calm smile, "All right, let's not talk about this here. The matter of the Xuanji sect's return has come to an end. Now, all of you go back and prepare yourselves. The archaic convention is about to begin, so let's have a good time during it." "Love, go, small, say, Netku," everyone responded loudly, then stood up and bid farewell to each other. They went back to prepare for the archaic convention. Before the immemorial grand meeting had even started, the original situation had already quietly undergone a huge change. Those sects and families were not stupid, more or less had already sensed it. But most likely no one would believe that the hand that stirred up the storm was actually Qin Yin's sect. At most, they guessed that something had happened to the Shangguan clan, which caused their strength to skyrocket, and they were now able to challenge the Qinkuan sect. The next day was the official opening of the Archean Assembly. The Archean Alliance was the collective name of the 4 great sects and families, and they were in charge of all matters related to the assembly. According to the rules, the Yuanning stage great perfection of the 4 major sects and families will attend on that day, but the Qinkuan sect has always come to participate in the tribulation. Afraid of the power of the Qinkuan sect, no one will say anything. After all, the tribulation is also a half-step great perfection. 1 foot has already stepped into the level of great perfection. This year was a little different. Shangguan Feixing, the peak of the nascent soul realm, did not come. Instead, it was Shangguan Qinyin, the current clan master, who attended the opening ceremony. The Qinkuan sect's tribulation transcendence did not say anything, but the 5-element sect's Ma Zedin could not help but jump out. "Shangguan Qinyin, has your old man died?" Today was such an important day, yet he didn't show his face. Didn't he know that the 4 great, perfected, nascent soul cultivators were coming? Or could it be that your Shangguan clan is ready to give up one of the 4 big clans? Ma Zedin also held a grudge against the Shangguan clan because the Green Cloud sect had robbed the 5-element sect stall, so he started to mock them viciously. From Ma Zedin's point of view, although Lin he had a hold on Master Chen's weakness, if it wasn't for the Shangguan clan, how would the Green Cloud sect dare to go against the 5-element sect? He had been wanting to cause trouble for the Shangguan clan for a long time. Now that he had the chance, he certainly wouldn't let it go easily. Shangguan Qinyin was not anxious or angry. He only smiled and said, "Sect Master Ma, do you think that perfected cultivator Du Nan of the Qinkuan sect has also died?" Ma Zedin was suddenly speechless. He had always been used to perfected cultivator Du Nan attending the assembly. Who would remember that perfected cultivator Du Nan also didn't come? However, Ma Zedin was not easy to deal with. He immediately sneered and said, "Old man, can you compare to perfected cultivator Du Nan?" Perfected cultivator Du Nan is the number 1 cultivator in the nascent soul realm. In the entire ancient underworld, perfected cultivator Du Nan is the only one who has the chance to reach the legendary mysterious ascension stage. It's understandable that he didn't come in seclusion. Furthermore, perfected cultivator Du Nan is also half a step to the peak of the nascent soul realm. Do you think you can compare to perfected cultivator Du Nan? Perfected cultivator Du Nan glanced at Ma Zedin coldly, but didn't say anything. Shangguan Qinyin chuckled and said, "I really can't say whether I can compare to him or not. However, from what you said, could it be that the 5-element sect has already surrendered to the Qinkuan sect?" Ma Zedin's face suddenly turned red. Shangguan Qinyin's words were really mean. Everyone in the ancient underworld knew that the 5-element sect's biggest competitor was the Qinkuan sect. Both sides had never been on good terms. However, Ma Zedon's words just now sounded like he was flattering the Chinquan sect. Speaking of which, he had really embarrassed the Five Elements sect. Originally, Ma Zedon wanted to say a few good words and pull the Chinquan sect over as an ally. Who knew that perfected cultivator Du Nen wouldn't say anything at all? Ma Zedon could only say angrily, "What nonsense are you talking about? I'm just stating the facts and stating the facts. Perfected cultivator Du Nen is half a step to the peak of the peak, so it's not a problem to treat him as a peak, isn't it? Oh, if you must say so, then so be it." Shangguan Qinyin shrugged indifferently and then said, "However, even half a step to the peak of the peak can participate. Why can't I participate? Ma Zedon, even if you want to be a flatterer, you can't be so blatant. Don't you want the Five Elements sex face? Nonsense. You are the one who is a flatterer." Ma Zedon was so angry that she was about to go crazy. She pointed at Shangguan Qinyin and shouted, "He is half a step to the peak of the peak of the peak. Who do you think you are, Shangguan Qinyin? You are only in the late nascent soul realm, and you dare to act like a boss? Who told you that I am in the late nascent soul realm?" Shangguan Qinyin looked at Ma Zedon sarcastically, but he felt indescribably refreshed. The feeling of acting cool was really good. Do you need anyone to tell you? Everyone in the ancient underworld knows how strong you are. Ma Zedon didn't feel that there was anything wrong with it and still replied unyieldingly. Shangguan Qinyin didn't say much and just looked at Ma Zedon with a smile. Then he activated his mental cultivation method and revealed the aura of the peak of the nascent soul realm. Ma Zedon was instantly dumbfounded. Shangguan Qinyin was already in the peak of the nascent soul realm? According to the information, when Shangguan Qinyin came to the ruins town, he was still in the late nascent soul realm. Moreover, Shangguan Qinyin had been stuck in the late nascent soul realm for many years. How could he break through so quickly? Moreover, he broke through 2 small levels consecutively. Chapter 5543. A genius in a second, remember to go? To provide you with wonderful novels to read. The Supreme Elder of Awakening Heaven's faction, who had been silent, also looked at Shangguan Qinyin in surprise. His eyes flickered a few times, then he turned back and remained silent. Nobody knew what he was thinking. Sect leader Ma, this time it shouldn't be 1 clear, but 2 clear, 3 clear, and 3 clear, right? Any more questions? Shangguan Qinyin looked at Ma Zedon mockingly and continued to show his nascent soul realm great perfection aura to her without reservation. Ma Zedon's face turned green and red, and she felt wronged. In the end, she could only smile and say, "Congratulations, Shangguan family leader. Your strength has improved by leaps and bounds. All right, since everyone is here, let's get ready to start." Since Ma Zedon admitted defeat, Shangguan Qinyin didn't have the intention to continue. After withdrawing his aura, he nodded and said, "Let's discuss the rules of this Archean convention." Sage Du Jie looked at Shangguan Qinyin with a gloomy face. Originally, these words were said by Chinquan sect, or more accurately by Du Jie himself. Now that Shangguan Qinyin had beaten him to it, it was inevitable that Du Jie was a little unhappy. However, the Shangguan family already had 2 nascent soul realm great perfection cultivators, so Du Jie could only endure it for the time being. As for the rules, I think we should use the previous ones. Du Jie suppressed the unhappiness in his heart and interrupted Shangguan Qinyin's words. In the past, we have always used the comprehensive scoring system. It's considered a more mature system. This year, there's no need to change it. At most, we just need to change the items of the competition slightly. Sage Du Jie, you're right. Our 5 Elements sect has the same intention. Ma Zedon had just suffered a small loss at Shangguan Qinyin's hands and lost face. Now, of course, she had to stand on Du Jie's side to suppress the Shangguan family. Hence, she immediately agreed. The Supreme Elder of Awakening Heaven's faction closed his eyes slightly and sat motionless on the chair. He nodded slightly and said, "Let's do it this way." Shangguan Qinyin said indifferently, "All right, let's move on to the next topic." Sage Du Jia almost vomited blood. Why is it that Shangguan Qinyin is the one leading the meeting again? Didn't they say that this guy never had a mind of his own? As a matter of fact, Shangguan Qinyin was someone who had no opinions of his own, even though he was already at the perfected nascent soul realm. Hence, as long as the opinions of the Shangguan clan and Blue Cloud sect didn't harm the interests of the Shangguan clan and Blue Cloud sect, Lin Yi would let them be. Anyway, with Lin Yi's strength, there shouldn't be any problems under normal circumstances. Shangguan family head, before we move on to the next topic, shouldn't we first calculate the overall basis? Oh, by the way, it's your first time attending this meeting, so it's normal that you don't know much about it. Du Jie didn't say anything, but Ma Zedong jumped out again and sneered vaguely. Shangguan Qinyin did not mind. He chuckled and said, "Sure, then you shall do it." Ma Zedong almost flipped the table on the spot. "What the F***CK do you mean you'll do it? Am I a little brother that you can order around?" The Supreme Elder of the Heaven Awakening faction opened his eyes, glanced at Shangguan Qinyin, and said with a smile, "Clan head Shangguan, the basic points are submitted by the various clans themselves. If anyone suspects it, they can check it out. If there are any false reports, they will be disqualified from participating in the immemorial meeting. Therefore, normally no one would dare to cheat. Although it's your first time attending this meeting, you should have already prepared the basis points beforehand, right? Oh, if that's the case, could it be this?" Shangguan Qinyin patted his forehead lightly. Then he took out a piece of paper from his bosom. On it was a list of the specific number of nascent soul realm and golden core realm cultivators in the Shangguan clan. The Supreme Elder of the Heaven Awakening faction took a look and nodded. "This is it. The perfected nascent soul realm is 10 basis points, the late nascent soul realm is 9 points, and so on until the late golden core realm is 1 point. Those below the late golden core realm are not counted. It's quite convenient to calculate it this way. I've never paid attention to it before. It turns out that the number of people is to calculate the basis points." Haha. Shangguan Qinyin laughed and turned to Ma Zedong. "Then you don't have to do this. Everyone can do it themselves." Ma Zedong rolled up his sleeves and was ready to turn hostile. "What does this mean? You can come and go at my beck and call? I'll beat you to death." The Supreme Elder of the Enlightening Heavens faction coughed lightly and interrupted Ma Zedong's anger in a timely manner. "After the basic points are out, all the sects will vote according to this basic points to determine the qualification of each sect to challenge, and then the competition will begin. In the end, the sect with the highest total points wins. Shangguan clan head should be familiar with this, right?" "Thank you, Elder Qi, for your explanation. I know the rules behind." Shangguan Qinyin nodded with a smile and thanked the Supreme Elder of the Heaven Awakening faction. Sage, Crossing Calamity, snorted coldly. "All right, the time to disseminate knowledge to the newcomers ends here. The application for the basis points can be carried out first. Let's discuss the competition first. After all the sects have voted, we can start the challenge based on the qualification." Ma Zedong took a deep breath and sneered at Shangguan Qinyin. "Shangguan clan head, do you have any ideas about the competition?" "Ideas? And let me think." Shangguan Qinyin thought for a while with a serious expression. Then he smiled and said, "Sect head Ma, why don't you give me a few ideas first? Let me consider and see if there's anything suitable. If there's anything suitable, I'll agree. If not, you can think about it again." "Damn it, this is too much. Why should I think of ideas for you to choose and let you decide?" Ma Zedong really jumped up and was ready to take action this time. Sage, Crossing Calamity, looked on coldly. He was eager for the 5 elements sect to have a conflict with the Shangguan clan. It would be best if both sides suffered heavy losses. That would be advantageous to the Qinkuan sect. "Sect head Ma, you're so excited. Did you think of a good idea? Why don't you tell me? Shangguan Qinyin seemed to not feel Ma Zedon's anger at all. He still looked calm. You want to hear it? No problem. Come here, and I'll tell you. Then you'll know why flowers are so red. Ma Zedon frowned and waved at Shangguan Qinyin while gnashing his teeth. Chapter 5544. Genius 1. Second, remember to go away. To provide you with wonderful novels to read. Sage Du Jie's face turned black. He turned his head and ignored Shangguan Qinyin, but he was cursing in his heart. I've never heard of Shangguan Qinyin being such a person. If I knew, I would have killed him long ago. Ma Zedon was about to go crazy. Shangguan Qingyun's whisper couldn't be hidden from the ears of the nascent soul realm cultivators at the peak nascent soul realm. If Shangguan Qinyin was still at the late nascent soul realm, Ma Zedon would have killed him 18 times. Qi Denai came out again to smooth things over. All right, today is the opening day of the Archean Grand Meeting. Let's not waste any more time. Let's decide on the competition items first. What I mean is to choose a few of the previous events as the opening competition, and then think of a few new events to add to it. What do you think? Of course, if you find it troublesome and want to completely follow the previous items, I have no opinion. Shangguan Qinyin was the first to express his opinion. What Elder Qi said is very reasonable. I completely agree. Let's do it this way. Sage Du Jie secretly rolled his eyes. What did Qi Denai say? You completely agree? That's all nonsense, okay? Do you agree to keep a few old items and choose a few new ones, or completely copy the previous items? Actually, Shangguan Qinyin completely agreed with Qi Denai. No matter what, he didn't care. Anyway, the final plan would only be fully implemented after Green Cloud Sect advanced. The initial projects only involved the 10 Academies qualification and the 10 Academies competition. The Green Cloud Sect directly obtained the qualification of the 10 Academies, so there was no need for them to participate in these projects. Hence, Shangguan Qinyin really didn't care at all. We, Qinkuan Sect, feel that it's better to keep some of the original items and add some new ones. Sage Du Jie didn't want to bother with Shangguan Qinyin, so he directly discussed with Qi Denai. Qi Denai nodded. He originally had this intention. Since Sage Du Jie also thought so, it was naturally for the best. Ma Zedon snorted and said, 5 Elements Sect also agrees. Shangguan Qinyin said with a look of concern, Sect Leader Ma, are you feeling very uncomfortable? You're in so much pain. Don't take medicine so casually in the future. You're the one who's taking medicine. Ma Zedon finally couldn't take it anymore. She slammed the table and roared. Qi Dalei quickly tried to smooth things over. We're all the top figures of the immemorial underworld. Let's talk less. Time is of the essence. Let's hurry up and discuss the important matters. Shangguan Qinyin shrugged his shoulders innocently and said, This sect Master Ma is really hot-tempered. Perhaps it's not that he took too much medicine, but that he didn't? None of you stop me. I'm going to kill him today. Ma Zedon pushed away Qi Denai's outstretched arm. They were all at the peak of Yuanying realm, who wouldn't have a temper. However, Shangguan Qinyin only said leisurely, My father is in secluded cultivation in the Shangguan clan's territory. Do you want to meet him? Ma Zedon's body trembled slightly. Shangguan Feixing was an experienced cultivator at the peak of the nascent soul realm. Even if he was not as strong as the strongest cultivator in the nascent soul realm, Reverend Dunan, he was still much stronger than Ma Zedon, a cultivator at the peak of the nascent soul realm from the 5 Element Sect. Together with Shangguan Qinyin, the newly ascended nascent soul, great perfection, the Shangguan clan was no longer easy to deal with. I told you not to stop me. You still won't let go. Ma Zedon grabbed Qi Denai's arm and roared loudly. After shaking him a few times, she said, Okay, I, Ma Zedon, will give you face. I'll let it go today, but I'll definitely settle this score in the future. Qi Denai really wanted to ask, Can you let go of my arm first? I really didn't want to stop you. Sage Dujia coughed lightly. He knew that Ma Zedin wasn't an idiot and wouldn't really challenge the Shangguan clan alone at this time. So he said expressionlessly, "Let's discuss which projects to keep and which projects to add." "That's right. Let's settle the business first." Qi Denai echoed. Shangguan Qingyan was even more indifferent. So, the meeting finally returned to the main topic. Although it was a discussion, it wasn't much of a discussion. Sage Dujia and Qi Denai made some suggestions, and Shangguan Qingyan agreed to all of them. Ma Zedin snorted a few times and didn't object. So the matter was decided. "Okay, since it's decided, I'll take my leave first." Shangguan Qingyan stood up easily, cupped his hands at the other three, and turned to leave. After Shangguan Qingyan left, Ma Zedin immediately shouted angrily, "This is too much! How dare he, Shangguan Qingyan, be so arrogant? Does he think that with two nascent, soul, great perfection cultivators, he can be above all four of us? Sage Dujia, Elder Qi, how can you tolerate this?" Qi Denai laughed and said, "Shangguan clan master doesn't usually care about things, so his words may be a little thoughtless, but he might not be really arrogant. Sect Master Ma, you don't have to worry too much. I still have some things to do today, so I'll take my leave first. The Archean Grand Meeting is about to begin. See you later." After saying that, Qi Denai cupped his hands at the two, turned around, and left, leaving Ma Zedin rolling his eyes behind him. Now, only Sage Dujia was left. Ma Zedin rolled his eyes and said in a low voice, "Taoist Dujia, I, Ma Zedin. I'm not a person who likes to stir up trouble, but the Shangguan clan is really too arrogant now. I've heard about the unhappiness between your Qinkuan sect and the Shangguan clan. How about it? Why don't we join forces? It will be difficult for either of us to deal with the two nascent, soul, great perfection cultivators of the Shangguan clan, right?" Dujia looked at Ma Zedin indifferently and said, "Forget it. Just pretend I never heard about this." Ma Zedin was slightly startled. He originally thought that Dujia would definitely agree if he proposed to join forces, but he didn't expect this guy to reject him so directly. "Taoist Dujia, what do you mean? Is the dignified Qinkuan sect going to admit defeat? Are you planning to let the Shangguan clan climb above your heads?" Ma Zedin wasn't willing to accept this, so he even tried to provoke them. Ha ha ha! Ma Zedin was unwilling to accept this, so he even tried to provoke them. Dujia chuckled and said, "Sect leader Ma, although our two sects have never been on good terms, it wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that we are old enemies. However, I still want to remind you not to cause too much trouble. Otherwise, I'm afraid that I won't be able to see your 5-element sect in the next archaic grand meeting." Chapter 55-45. That's all I have to say. You can figure out the details yourself. I won't say more. Dujia said calmly. He cupped his hands, casually bid farewell and left. "Hey, make it clear. Don't leave the other half." Ma Zedin shouted twice, but Dujia didn't seem to care about her. He continued to walk out. The Qinkuan sect and the 5-elemental sect were already in a state of competition. The reason why Dujia was willing to warn them was because they had a common enemy. However, if Dujia and Ma Zedin wanted to cause trouble for the Shangguan clan, Dujia would never agree to it. At least he had to figure out what kind of strength Lin he had. After Shangguan Qingyan left, he went to report to Linny. After briefly introducing the contents of the discussion, Shangguan Qingyan asked with a smile, "Marshal Uncle Lin, do you have any 10 youngsters or 10 youngsters candidates that you want to take care of? If you do, you can inform them of the events that have been decided so that they can be prepared. At least they can get a good result in the competition." Linny nodded and said thank you. Speaking of which, besides the 3 sects in the North Island, there should be a few other sects and families in the Shangguan clan. Is there anyone who wants to enter the 10 youngsters? Shangguan Qingyan shook his head quickly and said, "There are others, but their strength is very low. They might not even have a chance to enter the 10 youngsters. It's unlikely for them to enter the 10 youngsters. Marshal Uncle Lin, you don't have to worry. We will inform them ourselves. Of course, if there's a chance during the competition, I hope you can help them. No problem. We'll decide according to the situation. Go and inform them that they are ready. Lin Yi nodded and let Shangguan Qingyan go. Shangguan Qingyan immediately stood up and left. He had to go back and discuss with Shangguan Feishing to see if there was a need to help his own family or sect. Lin Yi sent Shangguan Qingyan off, which made Shangguan Qingyan feel a little flattered. However, in reality, Lin Yi was just passing by. Since he was going out anyway, it didn't matter if he sent Shangguan Qingyan off. The two of them parted ways at the entrance. Lin Yi went straight to the Thousand Blade sect. The Thousand Blades sect was probably the only one that needed special attention. As for the others, whether it was the Leaf Spirit sect or the Chu clan, there was no need for Lin Yi to worry about them. The Leaf Spirit sect was one of the 10 small sects, and with the Chu clan's current strength, it would be very easy for them to become one of the 10 small sects. Only the Thousand Blades sect was in a difficult situation right now. However, Lin Yi didn't expect that the Thousand Blades sect situation was much more miserable than he had imagined. When Lin Yi arrived at the Thousand Blades sect's encampment, there was no one at the entrance. He actually naively thought that they were really 2 weak chickens. 2 nascent soul stage experts, one at the late nascent soul stage and the other at the middle nascent soul stage. How could this kind of strength be considered weak chickens? Brother Lin, you forget it. Let's not talk about it. Ling Tianyu shook his head. He felt that he had nothing to talk about with an abnormal person like Lin Yi. He could only change the topic and ask, did the Qinkuan sect not make any follow-up moves after you sent the 2 nascent soul stage experts back? I didn't send them back. I directly killed them. The Qinkuan sect suffered such a big loss, so they probably don't have the guts to cause trouble for me for a while. Unless they can figure out all the details about me, they won't easily make a move. Lin Yi smiled indifferently. He had almost figured out the thoughts of the Qinkuan sect. As for his own strength, Lin Yi didn't want to talk too much, so he changed the topic and asked, just now you said that the Thousand Blades sect was disbanded. What exactly happened? Ling Tianyu shook his head with a bitter smile. The Thousand Blades sect has already declined. The people below heard that I offended the Qinkuan sect and the Invincible Patriarch, so they all quietly left the sect. The people's hearts were scattered, so the sect was also disbanded. Lin Yi glanced at the silent, invincible primordial era and said meaningfully, some people have the same moral character as the Qinkuan sect. They wanted to show off without figuring out their opponent's strength, but in the end, they kicked an iron plate. It's too late to regret now, right?